11. Costumes start a custom. Scotia. As Halloween nears, I acquiesce to both my sisters' decisions on costumes. I'm still wondering why we need to coordinate, but I bite my tongue, which is difficult some days. I'm working on it. My sister Naomi being a Wiccan means all kinds of things I don't understand, like tree-hugging and celestial loving under moon cycles and inner goddess stuff. I'm still the church-going Christian our religious parents raised us to be. Beverly is sort of hit or miss with church attendance. As sisters, we've agreed to respectfully disagree on religious matters. For Naomi, her autumn traditions revolve around Samhain, the Gaelic celebration on the American Halloween. Her practice includes a bonfire to honor the dead, which Beverly has decided to host on her property this year. To my surprise, my once reclusive sister wants to throw a party, and I'm thinking Jed has everything to do with it. I'm not dancing around some gigantic fire pit, prancing barefoot and praying to the moon, I state as the three of us meet at Daisy's Nut House, a favorite local eatery specializing in donuts. We're here for a final discussion of the upcoming holiday. You don't have to dance. I just thought it would be a nice way for the three of us to celebrate Jebediah, Naomi says. She was closest to our brother when we were younger. I did not want to discuss him. May he rest in peace. And Lord knows I mean it, as he was reckless and wild as a child. I can't dance around a fire anyway, Beverly says, her voice soft as she references her permanent limp and use of arm cuff crutches to support her weight. Physically, she's come a long way in a year with the help of her fiancé, Jed Fleming, but Beverly isn't going to whip around a roaring tower of flames any more than me. Fine, I'll just dance later, Naomi admits, saddened we aren't more willing participants in her fiery jig. Why are you hosting this bonfire again? I questioned Beverly. Jed and I thought it would be fun for adults after the community center party. The community center is the focal point of Green Valley Society, with a year-round farmers market, the annual Halloween party, and the Friday night jam sessions where one of our own had her start before she became a famous country singer. Well, I'm not wearing a mouse costume to the community party, I say. Naomi's last vote in the costume debate was to dress like the three blind mice, wearing all black with mouse ears and sunglasses. Then Beverly found us official costumes. The concept is simple enough, but I don't like the symbolism of the get-ups. We were three women blinded by love. My sisters are both missing the fact that they are no longer blind, but all-seeing. I'm the only one who is still a visually impaired fool in matters of the heart and body. I have no idea where Chester and I stand, or if we are standing at all. His kiss the other night was pretty powerful, as they all have been. I'm sorry I kicked you out. I'm glad to be back. I miss the boys. Is that all you missed? How do I tell him I think about him daily? I think about that morning on the regular. We've been up and down this month like a roller coaster. 1 minute he's sugar kindness, the next he's brine with extra salt. When he kisses me, though, he's the refreshing fragrance of dill, and I lose my head. Had he missed me? It's a question I'd never ask. I think we should save the mice costumes for the party at the Fugitive and wear our Celestial Bodies t-shirts to the Tamer gathering at the community center. It's going to be chilly later that night anyway. Naomi found us shirts, the sun, the moon, and the earth, for three of us to wear. We can form an eclipse depending on how we stand next to one another. What party at the Fugitive? That's the bar Chester owns as Big Poppy, or whatever he goes by, depending on where he is. The Fugitive is hosting a Halloween party on Saturday, Naomi explains. I stare at my sister, unaware of this party and very aware I was not invited. The sting in my heart does not go unnoticed. Won't it be dangerous? The only way to get there is drive the tail of the dragon, and the fact it's essentially a biker bar, attending a party at the Fugitive does not sound like a smart idea, even if we've already been there once. We'll stay the night, Naomi offers, and both my sisters blush in varying degrees. For Naomi, the Fugitive is where everything began for her and Nathan. For Beverly, she's living with Jed, so the admission she's sleeping with her fiancé is not a secret. I'm the one alone, outside their happy little love bliss nests. I wasn't invited, I say, turning up my nose at being excluded. Mask in place, Scotia. Sounds stupid, I immediately add, hoping to disguise my hurt. A bunch of bikers getting drunk and raising a ruckus while dressed in costumes? I can't picture it. And for some reason, I don't want to, because all I see is a beautiful biker woman dressed in some glorious, historically correct medieval outfit dancing with a roguish, Big Papi Chester Chesterfield Chet as they fall into the mating traditions associated with Halloween. It's the #1 holiday for random hookups, a fun fact shared by my assistant, Gideon. Oh, your invitation is a given, as Beverly and I were both included, Naomi states, not necessarily reassuring me that the invite did include me directly. I have plans, I lie, knowing it will likely be like any other night for me. I'll work late, then eat dinner standing by my kitchen sink, maybe read something dirty and fall into bed turned on, and dreaming of one lumberjack-looking biker named Big Papi. Maybe that night, the fantasy will be a partially tux-clad millionaire named Mr. Chesterfield. Or, perhaps, the evening will include images of an easygoing bearded guy named Chet on a living room floor. We can't be the two blind mice, Beverly states. It's not a thing. Then go as Mickey and Minnie Mouse, I retort. We aren't a couple, Naomi clarifies, as if I don't know this about my siblings. What is Nathan going as? I question, wondering why there is so much emphasis on us dressing up and not the men in their lives doing the same. Nathan says he's going to be a mouse catcher and carry around a net. Mouse catcher? Is that a thing? Jed's going to be a mousetrap. He claims his mechanical arm will give off the look well enough. Jed is comfortable working with only one arm, but he's also known to wear a prosthesis, which looks like something bionic on his amputated arm. And who's going to match me? I question, noting I'm the 5th wheel in this collection. We'll need to find someone who will be a giant wedge of cheese, Naomi states, as if that's a possibility and won't look ridiculous on a grown man. Yes, you need a good wedge, Beverly says. We fall into slow silence while Beverly twists her lips. Her mischievous eyes dance. Naomi snorts, and I can't seem to help myself. I chuckle a little at my sister's ribbing. Yes, I'd love a thick wedging.
Chapter 12. Bonfire Confessions. Chet. I think my nephew has a crush on your daughter, I say to Nathan, as we stand around the bonfire on Beverly and Jed's property. It's the night of the local community center's annual Halloween party, which I attended earlier this evening at the insistence of the boys. In hopes to see Scotia, I agreed to go with the collection of pirates, Harry Potter lookalikes, and one too cool for a costume 14-year-old. That's where I noticed a fuzzy-haired blonde with large glasses hanging out with Dewey most of the evening. They are on the school's robotics team together. But there's something more than teammates in Dewey's eyes when he looks at Clementine Ryder. Another thing I noticed at the party was Scotia's avoidance of the boys and me. But I didn't mention it to Nathan. I didn't know Dewey Maverick was your nephew, Naomi says. I don't suppose I should mention we have a pet hedgehog named Dewey Decimal, should I? As she's a local librarian, I've heard Miss Naomi's name a time or two. But Mara does the library runs. It's funny how small our world is in Green Valley. The librarian Dewey adores is now the stepmother to the girl he has a crush on. I didn't realize your Clementine was Dewey's love interest. They won't be dating anytime soon, Nathan warns while tucking Naomi under his arm. You just shush. They're too young to date. But nothing's wrong with a little crush. They have similar interests, and it just leads to a natural inclination to like each other. Then how do you explain us? Nathan teases his wife, who is pretty dissimilar to him. Opposites attract. I shake my head, thinking of her sister Scotia. The pull of positive and negative forces must be the explanation for my attraction to her. Because no matter how hard I tell myself to look away, I'm drawn to her, like a high-powered magnet. Her marked hair, her vulnerable eyes, even her sharp tongue. Something lures me to her. My eyes followed her earlier at the community center party, but she never looked up at me once. Is she ashamed of who I am as Big Papi? It wouldn't be the first time I didn't meet a woman's approval in a social setting. Henny never took our relationship public. I was her dirty little secret, trailer trash, serviceman, good in bed, to a reckless girl with a rebellious spirit. Thoughts comparing Henny to Scotia put me in a foul mood. Adding in the fact Scotia didn't acknowledge the boys, and that snub was just unacceptable to me. The boys adore her, and she told me she was happy to be back at Harper House. I'm glad to be back. I miss the boys. Is that all you missed? She'd stared up at me, eyes hesitating. She's afraid to open up to me, and I can't exactly blame her after our back and forth with misunderstandings about Mrs. Pickle and her purpose at Harper House. Then again, she's been equally disillusioned between Chester, Big Papi, and me. Still, I crave one of her honest comments. I like you best like this. However, now, I'm just pissed off. She disappeared from the party shortly after our arrival, and I've been stewing ever since. She was wearing a t-shirt with a giant sun on it. Maybe she ran off with some swanky astronaut wanting to circle her sun and make her the center of his universe. I gag with the adolescent thought. There aren't any children at this party. This is adults only, including Beverly and Jed, obviously. Nathan and Naomi are here. Jed invited a veteran friend named Tower Hudson who is living in his old farmstead with Jed's younger brother. They're turning the place into a veteran's refuge. Vernon Grady from Grady Seed and Soil is here with his wife Abigail, who's a drunken mess, and Vernon's sister, Wilhelmina, is with them. I'm introduced to Jed's sister, whom I've never met before. We're an odd collection of old friends bringing together new ones. Not long after introductions, a posse of women joins us, and it's like witnessing the mean girls arriving in high school. The way they walk, the way they talk. Before they even near the blazing fire, I recognize Scotia Simmons and her friends from the sidewalk last summer. I still cannot believe she tried to imitate Julianne McIntyre's coleslaw. I mean, you just do not do such a thing. That slaw is like a national treasure, one biddy states. Sacrilegious indeed, sister, the other agrees. There isn't enough beer for me to handle their kind of showdown in my piss-poor mood, so I chug the rest of mine and excuse myself from Nathan. I head to the cooler packed full of refreshments a few yards from the bonfire. As I remain in the shadows away from the roaring flames, Scotia eventually approaches me. Hi, she says, all Halloween candy sweet, but I'm not having it. She ignored me at the party earlier and then arrived with these biddies. Opposites will not attract this evening. I saw you at the community center. Did the boys have a good time? As if you care, I clip, and instantly Scotia stands taller. She covered her t-shirt from earlier with an old barn jacket, but she's still wearing tight jeans and rubber boots up to her kneecaps. Excuse me? Yeah, I saw you at the party, and you didn't look up once at the boys. Scotia turns her head, looking over her shoulder at the group of friends gathered around the towering fire. Twisting back to me, she narrows her eyes. You're the one who told me I couldn't use Harper House to... How did you word it? Plump up my resume? I took that to mean I needed to be disaffiliated from it, so I was doing what you asked. I thought I was being careful and respectful. I didn't come anywhere near the boys and left early on the off chance one of them noticed me. I didn't want to blow your cover, Big Papi. I did say all that to her, and it was thoughtful that she was respecting my wishes. I don't want her parading around her volunteer work like the boys are some charity case. She spins away from me, but I'm quick to catch her elbow. I'm sorry. The words aren't enough. It's not as if you aren't keeping secrets yourself, Mrs. Pickle. She exhales heavily before lowering her head. I thought it would be a fun name for the boys, she defends. That isn't what I meant. There's something deeper inside Scotia Simmons, something buried down at the base of her. She's hiding herself. Mrs. Pickle is only a thin layer. However, the boys do like the name. It's as if they have their own private Mrs. Doubtfire. And it's not like you approached me either, she hisses, snapping her head back up to glare at me. Those silvery eyes gleam like polished daggers. I'm not the one embarrassed by you, I defend, thinking of how often she's dismissed me as Big Poppy. My home, my bar, my help at the auto shop. Embarrassed? Despite the darkness around us, her eyes spark in shock as her brows lift. Who said I'm embarrassed by you? I see you with your gossipy friends. I nod in their direction. You tell them you banged me? Her arm tugs in my grasp, and if I wasn't holding her, I'm certain she'd slap me. I don't like you like this, she mutters through clenched teeth. Yeah, well, I don't like me like this either. And I don't know why I'm acting this way. Maybe because I want us to be seen together. I want her to introduce me to her friends. Then again, I don't need their approval. I definitely don't need friends like them. They wouldn't approve of me anyway, I state. You don't know that, Scotia insists, glaring at me. I've heard how you talk about people with those women, and they most definitely would not approve of Big Poppy. And before you think you can just introduce me as Chester Chesterfield, let me tell you it ain't gonna happen. He doesn't come out often, and I prefer it that way. I don't need to be torn apart like you and your friends were tearing down women on the street, or some lady for replicating a coleslaw for shit's sake. I didn't do that, she defends, settling her arm still in my grasp. You did, I snap. Putting others down is so second nature to you. I bet you don't even realize you're doing it. Her brows lift and then her eyes narrow. What does it matter how or who I talk about? It's just plain mean, Scotia. Her mouth falls open, then clamps shut. Silence falls between us. I've said what I said. It's the truth. It's just chatter among friends, she weakly argues. It's mean, I repeat, hoping I've struck a nerve with her. Her head lifts, struggling to still her expression. She's working on shutting down on me. Well, plenty of people speak ill of me, and I give zero fucks about it. Her haughty voice returns, mixing with the harsh profanity. And I'd laugh if I wasn't still wound up. It's mean, darling. My tone softens. My hand slides up her arm and rests on her shoulder. I'm old enough to do what I want, when I want, with who I want. Her eyes still spark, her tone terse. But something heavy waits in her voice. She's losing a bit of her salty snap. Is that what's happening here? You do me to prove something? 40-something and not giving fucks. Is that your thing? Her mouth falls open again, then clamps shut. With her shoulder under my hold, she steps closer to me. I didn't just do you. Her eyes blaze like polished chrome. Damn, she's so pretty when she's on fire. But I'm not looking to be burned by her. What are we doing then? She doesn't answer, and her silence says everything. Yeah, me neither, I state, to the emptiness around us. I don't know what we're doing with one another either. Scotia shrugs to loosen my hold on her and slips out from under my touch. And for your information, I did not discuss you with my friends, and it has nothing to do with being embarrassed by you. It's because I don't wish to share. I want someone who belongs to me. Instantly, I'm reminded of our first morning. And with that, she stalks off for the bonfire, and I'm the one left stumped. Later that night, I learned that Scotia's friends are the Hester sisters, and they're twins. Hazel Cumberstone is the older one by 4 solid minutes, and she's bossy as hell, as if she were 4 years older than her twin, Mabel Murphy. Mabel's a widow, and through the course of the night, I discover her husband was in the military. I also notice she can't keep her eyes off Tower Hudson. She's quieter than her sister, cutting off the other or correcting her rude comments, softening the blow of insults and verbal injuries. Her behavior is a reminder not to judge a book by its cover, and I seem to be guilty of judging. I've been unfair to Scotia. I'm sorry, I say. Eventually approaching her, she stands near the bonfire. The heat of the flames and the dancing of the blaze are messing with my head, and so are the thoughts of this woman. I clip a part of her coat and tug. Come back here a bit, will you? She quietly follows me, and I don't miss her sullen expression. I also realize it's my fault. I'm just in a mood. It's not much of an excuse. I seem to be up and down on a wave of emotion this evening. You've been back here quite a bit tonight, she states, keeping her arms around her midsection as she looks off at the bonfire, burning brightly. We're a good ways back from the flame, and I want to open her coat and touch her skin. The flames get to me, I explain, giving her some of the truth. My sister loves fire. It's a part of her religion. Oh, yeah? What's that? She's a Wiccan. The American Halloween coincides with their ancient celebration of the dead. Tonight is called Samhain, celebration of the dead. My eyes focus on the orange-yellow blaze moving over a pile of small tree trunks. Fire doesn't equate to a celebration for me, I say under my breath, until I notice Scotia's watching me, waiting for more. Forget I said that. You know you can talk to me, she says, softening her tone and loosening her arms as she turns to face me. I remain silent, struggling whether to open up to her or not. For some reason, I talk. My best friend and his wife died in a house fire. I can't pull my eyes from the flames, watching them flit and waver. Try as I might, I can't get rid of the image I have in my head of them burning alive in a bed. Scotia's hand lands on my forearm, but I can't feel her touch through all my layers of clothing. I can't feel her skin, and I need to feel her. I'm so sorry, Chester. Yeah, not as sorry as their 3 boys. I tip up my chin, dismissing my own heartache. Hugh, Dewey, and Louie? It was their parents. Were the boys in the fire? Her voice dips lower, coaxing the remainder of the story from me. They were home, yes. But Hugh woke Dewey from their shared bedroom and took Louie from his crib in the nursery. Hugh was all of 7. He'd been well trained. They had a fire escape plan. Get out of the house and meet at a tree near the street. He waited and waited. By the time the flames thoroughly engulfed the house, Harper and Davis hadn't come out. Harper, she whispers, but I ignored the obvious answer. I'd named the house after the boy's mother, so they'd never forget her. She asks another question instead. How did it happen? It was ruled inconclusive. The investigation found evidence of candles in their bedroom and a diffuser in an electrical outlet. I can't comprehend how either small item could have started such a blaze. A fire from such a thing should have been detected. I recall the investigator on the scene telling me it happens. Poor building materials, perhaps a blaze burning hot and fast. People can easily be trapped. They'd been sleeping when it happened. How do you not wake up from the scent of smoke? I sniff the air. The smell of the bonfire reaches my nostrils from yards away, and the scent burns. I suddenly feel nauseous. It woke a 7-year-old kid, but not Davis and his wife. I'll never understand. My voice lowers, my head shaking. To this day, I still don't believe it. Why didn't Hugh call 911? He was only 7. He didn't have a cell phone. What about the neighbors? She softly prods. The boys' home was in the woods, and they were separated from others by quite a distance. Eventually, one night owl neighbor noticed the flames. Davis's house comes to mind. He was so proud of his home. My first real home, he said, bringing to mind for both of us that we'd grown up in other people's houses and then shit trailers and apartments. I'd built a house for someone, but I've never lived in it. It wasn't in Harper House? She questions, noticing my mention of a separate home. No, that house is mine. Theirs was burned beyond repair. Scotia's breath hitches. Those poor babies, she whispers, her gaze shifting to the wobbling flames of the bonfire. Your poor friends. 7 years later, and I'm still questioning how a simple candle or a small diffuser could burn down a house and kill 2 adults sleeping in a bed. But I'll never have answers. Harper didn't have an enemy in the world. But Davis did. We both did. When they met at the Fugitive, he was concerned his dirt would find her, but she convinced him that would never matter. She loved him, and Davis loved her, and those boys. So Harper House, Scotia pauses, and I close my eyes for a second. I don't look at her when my lids open again. My vision aims at the flaming pyramid, but it blurs before me. I named the house after their mother, so they'd never forget her. You gave them your house? That's why you live in a bus. Her tone drops. The wheels are spinning in her head. Not the damn bus again. You're a hero. Hugh's a hero. I'll never measure up to that kid. I'll never measure up to any of them. Not my best friend, who took me under his protection at the last foster home I lived in. Not his beautiful wife, who loved him no matter what his past held. Their son, who fights for a good cause. Their other son, who's so smart I can't keep up. Or the infant child Hugh saved, who has the biggest heart. I'm not worthy of any of them. I toss my beer bottle in the recycling bin near the cooler, listening to the crash of glass on glass, and stalk off into the darkness, needing to pull myself away from the nasty memories.
"13. Something hotter than flames. Scotia. I give Chester a 5-second head start before I follow him. My heart bleeds for him after hearing the story he's told me. This big, beautiful man. His heartbreak is so huge. We move away from the crackle and snap of the fire and into silent darkness. The loud crunch of my wellies on gravel echoes in the night. My sister's farm has been restored now that she owns it outright and shares the land with Jed. He's built a horse barn on the property, and Chester stalks in the direction of the structure. I want him to talk to me, but he continues to walk faster without looking back. With his long legs, he's put quite a distance between us. He detours into the barn as I'd suspected. Once I enter, he seems to have disappeared inside the dark building, despite a dim light illuminating the passageway. I've lost him. I know you're in here, I call out as if we're children playing a game of hide-and-seek. Perhaps we are, as it seems we share bits and pieces of ourselves with one another, hiding truths and then seeking full disclosure. We're curious about each other, or at least I am about him. I want to know more about him, and I'm not letting him walk away after the bomb he just dropped. I pause before a horse stall. The heavy breath of Lucky One steams into the cold passageway. Jed breeds and trains horses for the rodeo. It's a process I don't pretend to understand, not being much of an animal lover myself, but it makes him happy. Jed's happiness makes Beverly ecstatic, which is something she rightfully deserves after all she's been through. I think about Chester. His best friend, Davis, and his wife, Harper, lost their lives in a house fire, leaving behind 3 beautiful boys. Chester is now their guardian and an excellent provider for them. For a moment, I wonder why he doesn't live with them. Why does he live in a bus just over the border instead of the valley? I suppose the locale might have something to do with his ownership of the Fugitive, but then again, his Chesterfield oil offices are said to be in Knoxville. There's a hefty distance between the locations with Green Valley in the middle. I'd reach up to pet the horse, but I'm afraid he'll bite me. Jed likes to call him a mean son of a bitch, yet surprisingly, the animal has a soft spot for Beverly. While Beverly loves animals, Naomi loves the woods, which reminds me of her Samhain ritual later tonight. I'm doing my part to keep up the sisterhood rejuvenation plan, and after what I've learned about Chester's friends, I take a moment to recognize I'm blessed that my sisters are still with me. I've missed them. We're very different people as adults, and in many ways, it should make us more incompatible than ever. But there's something about blood I can't deny. My sisters are the truest people I have in my life next to my daughter, who I haven't spoken to in a week. After a few minutes, I decide I'm not going to find Chester in the dimly lit barn and give up on the hope of him speaking further to me. I turn toward the entrance and pause when I see him blocking my exit. "Why did you follow me?" His low, gruff tone startles me, and we stare at one another for a minute. "Because I don't want you hurting. That was a lot you shared, and I just want to be sure you're—" I'm cut off from more words as he closes the distance between us in 3 broad steps and crushes his mouth to mine. His hands firmly cup my face. He kisses me as though he can't get close enough. Our mouths nip and suck, devouring one another, reminding me how I've never been thoroughly kissed. Never like this. While his beard is scratching my chin and his mustache brushes my lips, his mouth is heaven, and then his tongue seeks mine. I'm lost in the flutters racing up my middle and the pressure of his tongue swirling with my own. His fingers slip downward, clutching at the edges of my jacket, and my hands lift for his biceps, curling as best they can over his firm muscle. We're wearing too much clothing as far as I'm concerned, but it's cold in this barn. "I need to touch your skin." His hand works its way under my hair and into the scarf around my neck. His fingers wiggle to get under my sweater, but the contact isn't enough. "I want to have you right here," he mutters against my mouth. The desperation in his powerful kiss tells me everything. He wants to forget. I recognize the feeling. It's what I wanted with him on that first morning. Then again, what I wanted was to make a new memory. I gently push at him until he steps back, breathing as heavy as the horse in the stall behind me. Then I reach for his arm and tug him by his jacket into an empty stall across the passageway. Once inside, Chester slams the sliding door shut, and I'm pressed face first to the wall. At shoulder height, my hands catch the metal bars on the upper portion of the wooden wall to prevent my cheeks from slamming into the grid. "I want you like this," he says. His fingers tug at the scarf around my neck, freeing my skin so his lips can meet my nape. "Like this," I squeak as open-mouthed kisses suck at my flesh and move toward my ear. "Ever done it like this before?" It's not like I never faced away from Carl. There were times he didn't want to look me in the eye when we consummated our marital duties, but I'd never done it like this, in the heat of passion, pressed into a wall outside in a barn. It's as close to animalistic as I imagine one can get. "Not exactly," I mutter, closing my eyes at the half-truth. Hands fumble at my jeans and the button is undone. The zipper comes next as I clutch the bars near my face. Thick fingers slip under my panties and find the place where I love his touch. I melt into him as his finger dives into me. "Sweet Jesus, you're already wet." I don't think I'll ever dry up when it comes to this man. Just the thought of him makes me damp, and it's darn embarrassing to consider how often I think of him. "Let me in, darling." He means my pants, but I long for him to mean my heart. It wouldn't take much to enter that beating organ, but we aren't talking about emotions right now. This is purely physical, and I'd like to get lost in him as much as he wants to be lost in me. I lower one hand to my jeans, leaving the other hand wrapped tightly around the metal bars near my face. I'm afraid if I let it go, I'll fall over. Sensing my one-handed struggle to push down my pants, Chester is there with a sharp tug on each side. The denim falls to my knees, bearing my backside to him. I can't spread as well as I'd like, the jeans being a barrier, but Chester doesn't seem to mind. Within seconds, his belt is undone, his jeans are at his hips, and the warm tip of his hard shaft presses through damp folds, eager to welcome him into me. "Condom?" I strain, and hear the grunt along with a pause as he fumbles behind me. Apparently, he's not too old to carry one in his pocket tonight, and I briefly wonder if he was hoping we'd get to this point this evening. "There's more to this condom thing," he grumbles behind me. "And you're going to tell me, but another time." I close my eyes, hoping to never tell him the truth of my conditioning. When he's sheathed and returned to my entrance, all other thoughts are dismissed. "Hang on, darling," he warns, slamming into me before he's even finished his caution. I rise on my toes and squeak at the rapid intrusion. His hands grip my hips, tugging me back down over him, and he stills, allowing me a minute to get comfortable with this position. Everything with him is so different, like the perfect blend of crispy coating and slivered pickle in my fried delicacy. Chester is prize-winning and delicious. He slips to my entrance, teasing me with an exit from my body, then he rams upward once more. My breath hitches again, but I'm better prepared, using the bars clutched in my palms as leverage. He taps me someplace special inside, and I groan. I press back, drawing him into me, keeping him deep. He pulls away and then returns. Sweet Jesus. Back and forth, we move as he fills me. We rock and my hips buck forward, nearing the stall wall. Just when I think I'll collide with the wood, he tugs me back to him, tapping me in that spot I've never felt before. I love the sensation. I love the fullness, but I need a little more. "Get there, darling," he commands, straining with command, but I'm not there yet. It's a familiar position I don't want to recall. Carl hardly satisfied me. "I can't," I whimper, and Chester grunts behind me. "You can." His hand slips forward across my lower belly until his fingers fumble with a bundle of nerves certain to break me. It's never felt. This is too much. "Chester," I groan, moving on my own, faster, harder. I draw him deeper. I'm going to break, and his responding movements demand I do. With hands on the bars, I press myself backward, forcing my backside against him as I bite my cheek, holding in the scream I want to release. Small pinpricks of light dance before my eyes as I explode around him. "Atta girl," he mutters, as if I'm one of the horses in these stalls and I'm as wild as they are. He surges forward, and my hips hit the wood wall covering my lower half. He stills, and instantly, I feel him jolting inside me, pulsating with pleasure. His head rests against the back of mine, his warm breath coating my nape. We breathe in tandem, with heavy puffs and sharp puffs. Too quickly, he pulls out of me and stands to his full height, but his arms encircle my waist, and I'm glad for the support because I'm worried if I release the bars from my grip, I'll fall. As he holds my back to his front and presses his lips to the back of my head, I realize it might be too late. Metal posts in my grasp or not, I'm definitely falling for him. "Call me Chet," he whispers, and a smile breaks out on my face. 14. She Who Dances with Fire. Scotia. "Call me Chet." I can't seem to help the tingles rushing through my body at what this means. He considers me someone close to him. Unfortunately, we don't return to the bonfire holding hands or gushing over one another after our animalistic mating. He tells me to exit the barn first, and I'm left with a sinking sensation that what we've done didn't mean as much to him as it did to me. I realize I've just had sex with Big Poppy despite what he says I can call him. I've slept with 2 out of 3 of his sides. I have no idea what it would take to complete the triangle of him, or if my heart even could take more from this complex man. Shortly after our reappearance, the party starts to break up. It's almost midnight, so us sisters remain while the guests depart. Chet says his goodnights, and Nathan and Jed follow him to the main house. Hazel and Mabel drove me to the party, and I tell them I'll find a way home later. The sensation of his roughness as he entered me lingers, but so does the emptiness of his departure from my body. There's a hollowness in my chest, and I don't like the feeling. Chet seems even more distant after what we did, and my sudden melancholy mood plays into the ritual Naomi has planned. Tonight, we celebrate those who have passed. As a solitary Wiccan, my sister typically celebrates alone on this night, but in our continued efforts to reconnect our sisterhood, Beverly talked me into being present. I don't want to be invoking any spirits. We aren't invoking. We're remembering those who have left this life. Jebediah, Mother and Daddy. You could think of Carl. Our brother is dead. He's been gone almost 2 decades. In my opinion, we don't need to bring him back, but let his restless heart rest. Jebediah's death was an accident, but Naomi took his passing the hardest of all of us and has struggled to let it go. Carl is another spirit I don't wish to resurrect. He did what he could as a local pediatrician, caring for the physical and mental health of children for decades. He loved kids, which is surprising when you consider we only had 1 child. However, our marriage was what it was, and it's over. Don't you want to talk about him? Beverly interjects as we stand around the lowering flames. Talk about Carl? Never. Call me callous, but Carl is the last person on my mind most days. It's been over 7 years. I'm grateful for the birth of our child and the finances he left me. I valued his family name. I'm even appreciative of the years of friendship. But when it comes to our marriage, it's something I don't wish to discuss. Not even a little bit? Beverly pushes. My sisters both know that Carl was having an affair. It was the only explanation I gave them. He was killed outside a motel, which didn't make sense to them. What was Carl doing in a motel? He was mistaken for Kip Sylvester. Carl Simmons, Kip Sylvester. The men did not match in stature, but I suppose it was an honest mistake. As honest a mistake as one can make when committing a murder. Do you want to talk about Howard? I snapped back at my sister. Her philandering husband made quite a name for himself with his womanizing ways. It isn't something we've discussed at great length between us sisters, although there has been plenty of gossip over the years. If it would help, I can share how I felt about his adultery. The ease with which Beverly speaks, offering we compare notes on wayward husbands, does not settle well with me. Is it really adultery if you and your spouse agree? Is it breaking our vows if discretion was the only request? Is it infidelity if you are only being true to yourself? These were all questions I'd tried to put to rest over the years. Carl tried to be considerate. While he wasn't faithful to our marriage vows, he was faithful to me. What do you want to do, Scotia? How do you tell your husband you want him to love you like a man loves a woman? He just couldn't do it. Not how I wanted, at least. No, I do not need to hear about your reaction to Howard's affairs, I state, staring at the fire before me until I hear Naomi gasp. I turn to Beverly and see her stricken face. Sighing, I rearrange my words before I next speak. I drudge up all that past, Beverly. You can't change it. You don't need to go back. You have Jed now. Life should be moving forward, 1 foot in front of the other. Beverly holds her head a little higher. My sister struggles to walk due to an accident and needs arm cuff crutches for balance and support, but I'm not insulting her ability to move. We all need to move on from the past. Let's dance, I mutter. Why are you here if you're going to be like this? Beverly interjects, reading my mood. Because I want to belong somewhere. Sissy? Beverly calls out my childhood nickname, a name I despise, and pulls me from my thoughts. I'm here because you are my sisters, and you asked me to join, I say, mustering the strength to speak with honesty. I mean what I've said. I want to be involved in their lives because, at the end of the day, family is all we have. Carl was my family, Darlene as well, but she's pulled back, making her own way in the world. I've been very lonely for the past few years. I think about Chet and what he told me earlier this evening. His best friend sounded very important to him, and obviously, Davis and Harper had enough faith in Chet to leave their 3 sons to him. Family is what we make of it, be it blood or not. In my case, I want to reconnect with my sisters. In Chet's, his family is a group of boys relying on him, plus Maura and Savannah. Then let's begin, Naomi suggests we simply dance around the flames. It can be very freeing. Just let that negative energy release. This sounds easier said than done. I like to be free of so many things. mainly a secret that wasn't mine, but I keep it tucked away. It's the first thing I would let go of if I could. Would it be wrong to share the truth with my sisters? What harm would it bring, to be honest? Let the rhythm of the fire guide you, Naomi interrupts my thoughts. With my arms swinging like elephant trunks, I feel ridiculous. At first, I only walk, following her lead. She starts to skip and twist in an intricate dance that seems practiced and perfected, but I can't seem to loosen up. As I watch my sister before me, her dance appears freeing, elegant even. To be so light-hearted, to be so confident. Confidence is sometimes a facade and takes practice to own. Naomi, however, is not faking her strength. She's comfortable in her own skin, as she is. I'd love to be that open and strong. I glance behind me at our middle sister. Beverly cannot possibly maneuver the way Naomi does, and it feels almost insensitive to encourage her to follow our youngest sister's lead. However, Beverly gives it her all, moving in measured steps around the flames. I wish I had her strength, her courage. She's braver than I'd given her credit for in the past. Out of the corner of my eyes, I see we have an audience tucked into the darkness. Nathan watches in wonder as his wife moves around the softening fire. But Jed struggles. His hand fists near his pocket as he watches Beverly. With the tip of my head, I signal him. He doesn't want to intrude, but he can't stand to watch her stumble. He'll give her space, but if he can offer his body for her to lean on, he's there for her. Both my sisters are fortunate to have a partner, a true love match. We circle the flames once more before Beverly stops and Jed's at her side. He slips his leg between hers as if entwining them like a three-legged creature. Slowly, he canters them around the fire. Nathan moves closer but keeps his distance, allowing his wife her moment. I halt when I see one more figure lurking in the shadows. Breaking from the circle, I step toward the darkness. "Chet," I whisper, surprised he's still here. Earlier, he said goodbye to everyone, including me. He looks left as if he's been caught doing something he shouldn't be doing, and I step closer to him, slipping into the shadows away from the warm fire. "What are you still doing here?" "Chet invited me to the house for another beer, and Nathan spilled about what you women were doing. Curiosity got the best of me. I'm not much of a spiritual dancer, I admit, sheepish about my lacking ability, waning confidence, and pitiful courage. I'm not much of a dancer, period," Chet states. We both watch as Jed escorts Beverly around the bonfire, and Nathan intercepts Naomi, joining her in her intricate dance. "You mentioned tonight is a celebration of the dead. You thinking about your man?" Chet's lips twist after asking, as if hesitant to ask and equally uncertain he wants an answer. "Carl was my husband, and I won't speak ill of him tonight, but our marriage wasn't what one would consider equitable. Unfortunately, Carl's been on my mind too much tonight, and I'd like to let him go a bit. I suppose that's a part of Naomi's ritual, releasing the spirit, the memories, and setting them free. Ever gonna tell me more about him and his phallic symbol prejudice?" Chet chuckles softly. "Nope." I smile myself. Why does Chet even care? And why did I offer that little bit of Carl to him anyway? "Maybe someday," Chet teases, and again, I wonder why it matters. This man turns me upside down. "For now, want to dance?" "Here?" I stammer, glancing around the shadowy darkness surrounding us. "You just said you weren't much of a dancer." Chet looks around as if searching for something. "No one here to see," he teases. "We can make this our secret." Our secret. Not his. Not mine. Us, together. But I've been a keeper of secrets for a long time, and I'm not certain I have room in my heart for more. "And we wouldn't want people to see us, would we?" I retort, recalling our earlier conversation. "Don't pretend you'd want people to know what we've done." His rough voice drops, and I bite my cheek. "Well, I wouldn't be announcing it in the Piggly Wiggly," I snark, "but I'm not ashamed I had sex with him. Maybe he's embarrassed. Maybe he doesn't want to be seen with me. We seem to have come full circle to earlier this evening. If I keep you a secret, it's because I want someone only for me, I admit again, lowering my eyes as the truth seems easier to say in the dark. Chet steps closer to me, cupping my jaw tenderly in his big paw. Give me that secret, darling. What do you mean? I wish I could explain it, which I can, but I won't because the revelation would be too much. I don't know what we're doing, but I like you. I swallow at the heavy truth clogging my throat as I admit more than I should. He's complex and complicated, but there's something I really like about him, and it's not just the way my body reacts to his touch. He isn't afraid to call me out, and I find I'm sensitive to his thoughts of me. I don't want him to think I'm mean. I'm honest and straightforward, but I also have my reasons for being that way. Mask in place, Scotia. Speak before spoken about. If I reject others, they can't reject me first. I like you when you're truthful with me, he whispers, curling his finger over my ear to brush back the loose hair near my face. When you're real. What are we doing with each other? I whisper. It's an honest question. Are we just hooking up, filling a need in each other? Or could we be something more to one another? For now, we're dancing. He's a large man, but he takes my hand, pulling me into him. I raise my arm to set my other hand on his shoulder. We don't dance as much as we sway. He holds me close, and I rest my body against his. It's nice to be held. I like you best like this, I murmur, thinking he can't possibly hear me as my cheek lays near his thumping heart. I like you best, darling. He leaves the statement without a modifier, making me fill in the blanks with hope. 15. A game of cat and mouse. Scotia. The next night, I find myself at the Fugitive. Heard you're having a party, I said to Chet the night before. My invitation got lost in the mail. The party is all Todd's thing, but after your first visit to the Fugitive, I didn't think you'd want to come back, he stated, reminding me of my behavior toward his patron and shock at his home. I'd like a second chance for first impressions, I whispered. He didn't answer, only kissed me. It was soft and sweet and too short, though we were standing in the shadows of the barn by then. The bonfire dance was over, and the night was ending. We sisters arrive in tandem, and it's obvious the crowd does not know what to make of 3 grown-ass middle-aged women dressed in tight gray clothing with dark sunglasses. Beverly found us these onesie-style costumes, complete with mouse ears on a hood and a long tail near the backside. Are we getting robbed? One biker jokes before lifting his mug of beer. I think we're being punked, another states, leaning back in his chair, getting comfortable like he's about to watch a show. Maybe they're strippers, a smoke-roughened voice calls out from a corner, and I'm ready to take my tail and turn around when Nathan saunters up to Naomi and announces, This little mouse belongs to me. Jed isn't far behind, wrapping his arm around Beverly and stating, And this mouse is mine. My heart drops as there's no one to claim me, and for some stupid reason, tears prickle my eyes until a hand takes mine, and I turn my head. And I'm wedging bets on this one. Tide Ryder wears a bright yellow cheese wedge shape on his head like a Wisconsin fan, and I laugh despite the desire to cry. You are too kind, sir, I drawl. He lifts my fingers to kiss my knuckles. The gesture is sweet and unnecessary, but I'm also so grateful for Nathan's older brother being here, humoring me. He's a nice-looking man, broader and stockier than his brother, earning him a biker name of Toad when he's anything but one, with solid silver hair and a sprinkling of facial hair, plus beautiful blue eyes. He's lovely, but his cheesiness doesn't cut it for this mouse. Still, he's charming, and I'm thankful he escorts me to a table where the others are seated. I don't want to look around for Chet, Big Poppy, but my eyes drift. "Who are you looking for, sweetheart?" Todd asks me, and I snap my attention back to the table. He winks. "Just taking in the scenery," I say, holding his gaze a second. His eyes really are a brilliant blue, but I'm not getting lost in them as I desire midnight orbs that are clearly not present. After my quick scan, I see we really do look ridiculous in our costumes. The body-hugging material is all sexy mouse among some cool cats. The attire isn't something my curvy, prefers loose-fitting, makes-her-own-clothing sister typically wears. I remember last Halloween when she made an exception to her clothing selection for a Jack Skellington costume. That's a story in and of itself. On the other hand, Beverly's always been angular, so something form-fitting actually hangs a bit loose on her body. My physique is in between theirs with a more athletic build, but I'm not comfortable with the curve-hugging shape of this light fleece material, nor the mouse ear hood on my head. "What's this?" The loud, rugged tone has me turning my head to find Chet standing behind me, in a waffle fabric Henley and dark jeans. I'm assuming his costume is night-off lumberjack. "Big Poppy, take a seat," Jet offers like they are old friends. Somehow they are, but I don't remember the particulars. "Seems the table's full," he states, noting the 6 chairs around the circular wood. His eyes narrow when he lands on me, and Todd quickly stands. "Take my seat, boss," my cheese man suggests, tugging the wedge off his head and pushing it into Big Poppy's chest. Big Poppy snorts, grabbing the foam hat in his hands. "I'm not wearing this damn fool thing," he states, and then does a double take at the attire of the women at the table. Repeating himself, he snides. "What's this?" "We were told it was a Halloween party," Naomi defends, her eyes shifting to Nathan. "It is," Big Poppy states. I scan the room again, realizing the only people dressed in costume are women in devil outfits or skimpy dirtnails, as if it's an Oktoberfest. One man wears fake eyeglasses with a false mustache attached, and another has a pirate hat on his head with a patch covering his eye. But for the most part, the rest look like bikers. I don't think it's an act. "We thought that meant costumes," Beverly clarifies. Her voice is quiet while Jed wraps an arm around her and says something in her ear to make her blush. Pushing back the hood with ears from my head does nothing to conceal that we are the only people wearing true disguises, and I feel ridiculous. "As your costume must be a barkeep, get me a drink. I'll take a chocolate martini neat." I slap my hand on the tabletop for emphasis. I'm not certain if I'm allowed to recognize Chet as Big Poppy, or anyone for that matter. Do we pretend we don't know one another as anything more than casual acquaintances? Or can I announce to this bar that I slept with him and I'd really like to sleep with him again? "I'm not a fucking beer wench, and we don't sell martinis. This isn't the Omni Hotel," Big Poppy states, glaring down at me, reminding us both of the hotel where we met. Uh-oh. Big Poppy is grumpy again. "It's Halloween. You must have something chocolatey sweet," I say, noting his tall stature towering behind me. "We've got whiskey and more whiskey. That's our sweet," he states, looking at me. With those dark eyes lasered in on me, I want to twist in the seat, climb his body, and hate-kiss the crap out of those pouty lips. He's oil and vinegar tonight, and I want that sweet dill I know he can be. My fingers clutch at the back of the chair. I push myself out of the seat to stand. "Perhaps Todd can help me figure out something," I say. I hardly take one step around to Big Poppy before his hand wraps around my upper arm to halt me. "Todd won't be wedging his cheese anywhere near you," he grunts. Somewhere nearby, I hear, "Oh, my." "I'm not looking for cheese. I want something smooth and velvety chocolate against my tongue." I lick the front of my teeth and twist out of Big Poppy's clutches. Sauntering to the bar, I catch Todd's eyes. "What you need, sweetheart?" He teases me with another wink, and I sense Big Poppy's presence behind me. "She doesn't need anything," the gruff voice at my back mutters. "I'd like a chocolate martini," I say, my voice louder than necessary. I glance right, and a man on a bar stool looks me up and down. I give him a fake smile. He grins back seductively, and mine becomes more genuine. It's nice to be smiled at in an appreciative manner. He's nice looking, too, despite his dark clothing and leather vest. "We don't make chocolate frou-frou drinks," Big Papi says, standing close behind me. The heat of his chest radiates toward my spine, but I ignore his nearness. "Let me see what I can do," Todd offers, dismissing his boss and turning for the wall of alcohol opposite the bar top. "You are pushing my buttons, lady," Big Papi whispers at my ear. Without conscious thought, I press my tush backward, hoping to land close to my intended target despite him being taller than me. I'll give him a button to push. A firm hand comes to my hip, stilling me. "That button?" I drawl, grazing over my shoulder and up at him. He bites the corner of his lip, trying to keep up the glare but failing just a bit. "Do not flirt with other men in my bar," he mutters. "And don't count on Todd to fill any need you have either." I'm not flirting with anyone, but his demand has me wondering, is he jealous? A glass taps on the bar top, and I turn my attention back to Todd to find something light brown with a thick white foam and a drizzle of chocolate over the top. Reaching for the glass, I lift, sip, and lick my lips. "Delicious," I purr, making eye contact with the man to my right after I take my first drink. "You sure you're a mouse, lady? Because you look like a pleased You watch your mouth, Striker," Big Papi warns before he finishes, and the man on the bar stool chuckles softly before returning his attention to the television behind the bar. I take another sip of the chocolatey concoction Todd made and shift as best I can, placing the bar at my back and a giant of a man at my front. "What are you playing at tonight, Scotia? What are you playing at, Big Papi?" I don't know my place here, and I'm not comfortable without control. "You look ridiculous," he states as his eyes drift down the length of the zipper, from neck to crotch and back up. I'd be lying if I said it hurt a little that his body scan was not appraising but appalled. Then his eyes meet mine, and the heat in them is molten steel. My insides do a little dance. "She looks pretty good to me," the man named Striker interjects. "I'd chase her." His throat rumbles, roaring in my direction. My body shivers. Is he flirting with me? Attempting to meet his eyes, I see he's egging on Big Papi, but I don't fully understand why. I use my best southern drawl to say, "Thank you, darling." Then take another sip of my liquid chocolate heaven. Oh my, that is delicious. Big Papi sets a hand on the bar. His large arm acts as a barrier between Striker and me. His big body leans forward, crowding my space even more. "I've got you trapped," he warns me. "What if I don't want to be caught?" I say, dropping my eyes and noticing he's still holding the foam cheese hat in his hand. He tosses the headpiece behind the bar where Todd catches it and chuckles. It's a lie, though. I don't want him to toy with me. I want him to catch me. Instead, he presses off the bar top and glares at me. Holding his gaze, I take one more chocolate sip, toying with him. "Good thing I'm not interested in chasing," he states. His meaning becomes clear. Despite our tender moments last night, he isn't playing tonight. He glances up, nods at Todd, and then takes a step to the side. "Behave," he mutters as he pats Striker on his shoulder, passing him before he disappears into the pool room, where I know there's a door leading outside. He's not interested in cat and mouse tonight, and my heart plummets to my belly. Sometimes big cats are too dumb to realize they're running in the wrong direction, Striker states beside me, tipping up an eyebrow and nodding in Big Papi's retreating direction. "Seeing as I don't like to be toyed with, I guess it's for the best," I state half-heartedly. I've been ensnared by one Chester Chesterfield. I've fallen for his alter ego Chet, who adores 6 boys in a house once his. But I don't need to get caught up in Big Papi and whatever game he's playing with me. "Don't you worry, sweetheart. You're his kind of catnip," Todd interjects from behind the bar, but I have no idea what that means. Striker's eyes roam me once again from my high-heeled shoes to the white stripe in my hair. "No, pussycat. I bet you capture hearts all over the place. He shifts on his seat. Want to capture me, Kitty? She's with Big Poppy, Todd intercedes, and my head swivels in surprise. I most certainly am not with the grumpy, gruff man who just exited the room without a look back. Don't see him standing here, Stryker notes, and I admit he's correct. Want to dance? He asks me. He's another lion playing with a mouse, so it's a good thing I know how to move and protect myself. I'm becoming steel with the rejection from Big Poppy / Chester Chesterfield / Chet once again. I dance with Stryker for several songs before a man named Bones cuts in for 2 more dances. I'm actually having fun. It's been a long time since I've been so carefree. I've let my hair down, as the saying goes, or rather, removed my mouse ears. Bones and I rock right, kick left, and then release one another, spinning out so we're side by side. Without missing a beat, we turn back to each other, hands reconnecting, and we shift left, right, left. It's been forever since I've danced like this. Bones releases my right hand and twirls me away from him. I spin outward and collide with a hard wall of man chest. I hiccup as I look up and meet narrowed eyes as dark as ink. Dance over, Big Poppy says, directing his gaze to the man behind my back, still holding my fingers. The song ain't over yet, Bones clarifies in a soft Tennessean drawl. He's not as tall as Big Poppy, not as dark, nor as crisp and fresh-scented, but he's attractive in his own right. It is now, Big Poppy states, still glaring over my head as he crosses his arms over his chest. His eyes don't leave the man behind me. Excuse me, but I think I can speak for myself, and I'm not finished dancing. My focus remains on Big Poppy's face. He's so good-looking in a lumber-sexual, manual labor kind of way. My insides flutter when I look at him, even though he's everything I haven't been attracted to in the past. He looks unrefined, a bit wild, and on the edge of breaking the man still holding my fingers. Everything about him screams all male, and his imposing presence says, I'm all his. Everything about this moment is in contrast to his earlier stance of not chasing. Maybe it's because he's already claimed me. Then again, my interpretation of the scene could be inhibited by the 3 chocolatey wonders Todd's made me this evening. The lines between Chester Chesterfield, Chet, and Big Poppy are blurring in my head as my body loosens up and my tongue feels thick. I might be a teeny-weeny bit tipsy. Tell him the dance is over, he commands, lowering his gaze to me. Those eyes demand I follow his orders. However, I rarely do as I'm told. I don't think so, I say, spinning to face my dance partner. But as soon as my hand connects with his shoulder, my waist is encircled, and I'm tugged backward. Party's over, Big Poppy mutters near my ear. My real ear, not the mouse substitutes, which I've kept lowered since walking up to the bar. Naomi and Nathan disappeared a while ago, presumably for the motel. Beverly and Jed left 2 songs back, possibly for the same location. I don't want to consider where Big Poppy has been for the past half an hour. I've been left alone in this strange place, and I'm enjoying myself despite my being without a date. Screw Chet Chesterfield, Big Poppy. However, Bones releases me and steps back, holding up both his arms in surrender. His eyes remain on the man behind me, as if the 2 men are having a conversation without words. She was safe with me, Bones states, as though clarifying something unsaid. And I don't like his tone or how this silent discussion is literally over my head. Excuse me again, gentlemen, but this mouse can determine what's best for her. And what's best for her, for me, is letting the man at my back know he's interrupting a perfectly fun evening. I spin to face him, ready to speak. Don't! He barks so sharply I flinch. He catches my hand in his and walks around me, pulling me behind him, nearly dragging me through the pool room. We near the emergency exit and step into the brisk coolness of a late October night. What the heck? I snap once the metal door slams at my back. Big Poppy halts, and I smack into his broad shoulder blades. What in the devil are you? Hop on, he commands, keeping his back to me. I have no idea what he means. Craning his neck to look over his shoulder, he repeats himself. Hop on. I don't know. Big Poppy squats a bit and wraps his palms around the back of my thighs. Hang on, he warns, and I'm suddenly rising into the air against his body. I squeal as I'm lifted by the back of my legs and my arms circle his neck. He stumbles backward for a moment. I'm too heavy for you, I squeak, praying he doesn't fall backward and crush me as I'm attached to him like a barnacle on a wooden ship. He chokes out his reply. Loosen up a bit. Realizing I'm cutting off his airway, I slacken my hold at his throat, and he hitches me upward. My body jostles against his, forcing my thighs to spread and tighten at his waist, while the heat of his body seeps into mine. He secures his large palms on the underside of my thighs and starts walking to his bus. Just what are you doing? I grumble. This has to be the most ridiculous position I've ever been in. Giving you a piggyback ride? You'll sink in those heels in this mud. Gazing over his shoulder, down at the dark soil, I note the moisture from days of autumn rain. It's rather thoughtful that he's carrying me, but he hasn't answered my question. Are we headed to your bus? I'm taking you home, he mutters. Oh, I state, unable to mask my disappointment. I was actually having a good time tonight, and for a moment, I think of my old friend Diane Donner. She once went to a biker bar and had herself a good time being there. There's nothing wrong with being over 40, flirty and fun. Gosh, I don't know what's happening to me lately. Big Poppy drops his hold on my thighs once we reach the opening to the bus, and I slither down his large body, landing on an outdoor mat at the base of the metal stairs leading up to the entrance. He reaches around me, pressing on the folding door, which opens inward. When he places a hand at my lower back, it seems I don't have a choice. I'm going inside. This is confirmed when two big hands grab my hips and lift me onto the first step. As I climb the 3 stairs, I take a better look at the entry than I did the first time I was here. The driver's seat is the first thing I notice. It's a warm brown leather captain's chair and looks comfortable but crisp, as though it hasn't been used often. Immediately turning to my left, I take in the faux hardwood flooring and the shiplap paneling on the walls. The space is decorated in light browns and soft grays. Masculine, but somehow pretty. It's very tidy for such a compact size. Big Poppy follows behind me and stops near the driver's seat to tug off a boot, hopping from one foot to another to remove the second one. I expect the bus to rock and wobble. I recall school buses being bouncy and unstable. For such a large man, it's surprising he has so much balance, and equally surprising is that the bus doesn't shift from side to side with his moving mass. When he looks up at me, I hiccup. What are you doing? I question as the second boot drops with a thud. Hiccup. I thought you said you were taking me home. Do you want to go home? He stands taller, his eyes softening a bit. No, I whisper. Hiccup. I meant I was bringing you to my home. Oh, I answer again, my insides doing little cartwheels of relief. Am I still supposed to call you Big Poppy here? With a crooked smile, he shakes his head. Chet works. Chet. He watches me, and the intensity of his gaze has me looking away and scanning the remainder of the space. I spin to take in the full layout, realizing I'd missed the back of the bus on my first visit. Is this the bedroom? Hiccup. After taking a few short steps, I find myself at the end of a raised platform with a thick mattress that fills the entire width of the back of the bus. Helping myself, I climb up and flip to my back, swishing my arms and legs spread eagle, making a mattress angel. It's silly, actually, but I'm riding the high of a few too many chocolate drinks and the attention of a few good-looking men. Accepting I'd never see those biker dudes again, I gave in to one night of letting loose. My legs open and close, until warm palms land on my inner thighs in the open wide position, halting my exercise. I tip up my head as my heels are removed from my feet. My heart races. My core pulses. I hiccup again. Do not be sick on my bed. I'm not going to get sick on your bed. Hiccup. Then I recall my track record with this man, vomiting on the night we met, having my period mishap on another day, almost having sex with him on my desk, giving in to sex in a barn. I've been a hot mess more times than not in his presence. And I don't understand what I'm doing here. There's a subtle shift to the mattress, and I glance up to find Chet crawling over me. My legs spread apart, his knees come between my thighs. I'm instantly thrown back to that morning we shared together. He'd asked me if I was certain I wanted to do what we did, and I'd never been so sure of something in my life. This moment is no different. I want him, even though he ruined my night. Hiccup. Scotia Simmons, why are you such a mess? I'm not a mess, I stammer. Hiccup. I'm one of the most put-together people I know. Just ask me, and I'll tell you how put-together I am. Mask in place, Scotia. But as I lie on his mattress, reality slowly seeps in. I'm coming unraveled, one loose thread at a time, and it's all because of him. Why are you so grumpy? Chet shakes his head, ignoring my question as he balances on all fours over me. He stares down at me, the intensity of those dark eyes making me feel naked under him despite my silly costume. I'd like to be naked under him, but not with him looking at me like this, looking at me as though he sees beneath my skin. He knows how ugly I feel inside. You gonna puke on my bed? While my stomach suddenly feels unsettled, it has nothing to do with the alcohol I consumed. I am not going to puke on your precious bed, I snap. Suddenly, I wonder how many other women he's brought here. Am I one of many? You know, you could improve your seduction skills. It's a reminder of what he said to me on that first morning. I'm not trying to seduce you, Scotia. He slips to my side, perching himself up on an elbow and looking down at me. You're not? My voice drops as I peer at him, and disappointment fills my stomach again. Nope. He continues to stare at me, and my skin begins to itch a bit. I'm suddenly overheating in my fleecy mouse onesie, and remembering my costume makes me wonder if this is why he's not seducing me. Who would want to seduce a mouse? The costume does not fit my personality one bit. I'm the cat. I need to be on top at all times. Because I'm not sexy, I quip, and Chet snorts. Oh, you're sexy, darling. He throws himself on his back and stares up at his ceiling. Then I don't understand, I snap, feeling all kinds of foolish. You're a danger to yourself, and Nathan asked me to look after you for the night. Like a babysitter? I huff, taking a second for the endearment to rattle over my heart. I do not need a babysitter. I can take care of myself. I've been doing it forever. I always look out for me first. I'll figure out a way home on my own. To prove my point, I sit up, ready to leave his bedroom, or bed, or whatever this portion of his crazy bus house is. But a thick arm hooks my waist, and I still. I don't need you doing Nathan any favors, I quip, growing irritated myself. How much have you had to drink tonight? He questions instead of replying to me. I hold up 3 fingers, wiggling them. He sighs. If you want me to drive that road in the dark, I'll take you home myself. There's more to his words as we both know what he means. The tail of the dragon and the twisty turning highway that could be dangerous in the best of light and deadly in the dark of night. But I want you to stay. His softened tone loosens my tense shoulders. I slump a little in my seated position. My brother died on that road, I say, keeping my voice quiet. Why those words slipped from me, I do not know. Chet remained silent. He was coming here to the fugitive. Naomi had called him. I take a deep breath before continuing. She was here to celebrate her 21st birthday. She'd been with Nathan. That's how they met. I smile weakly. Jebediah had been drinking, and he crashed into the boulders. I stay quiet a second, recalling the phone call from my parents informing me of his death. I hadn't been living at home. By then, I'd been in my beautiful house in Green Valley, raising my adorable Darlene and conspiring with Carl. He'd begun his practice, and with a perfect life built around him, his secrets were safe. I was safe. I had married into society and proved myself over and over again to be worthy of a Simmons. It had been exhausting. "I'm sorry about your brother," Chet says beside me, and I shrug, as if the loss doesn't still hurt. I wasn't particularly close to my reckless brother, but he was still my brother. I hadn't always been a good eldest sister. Giving in to the arm around me, I lie back on the bed but curl onto my side, placing my back to Chet. He rolls toward me. "That might have been the most real you've given me, Scotia." His deep, gruff voice quiets a little. I tuck my hand under my cheek and stare at the wall opposite me. The space isn't closed, intimate as I'd thought earlier, and the world spins just a little bit. It's not the alcohol, but something else inside me, like my axis is tipping off kilter. I need to right myself, but I don't know how, and I don't want to move. That's where the alcohol takes over, I decide. I'm relaxed and slipping into the comfort of this bed and the man at my back. His hand comes to my side and travels up the curve of my hip. He stops and retreats, skating down the slope of my hip to the dip of my waist. He halts again. His hand moves upward, reaching for the neckline of my costume, and thick fingers connect with the zipper. "I thought you said you weren't trying to seduce me," I mutter, a pleasing grin curling my lips. "I just want to feel your skin." My heart leaps to my throat and the pulse between my thighs beats double time. He only wants to touch me? It's such a foreign thought after years of Carl's distance. Carl was not cruel. He just wasn't comforting. At least, not in the manner in which the heated palm slips into the costume now unzipped to my waist. Thick fingers spread over my belly as if he wants to touch as much of me as he can. The tail of the costume is trapped behind me, and the hood has ears on it, but with his heavy hand on my stomach inside the onesie, I don't feel so ridiculous. I'm not certain what to feel. "Tell me something else that's real about Scotia Simmons." "I've never felt how I feel when I'm with you." The sharp intake of his breath and the weight of silence behind me after what I've said tells me my admission might have been a little too much truth. That is to say, "You annoy me," I teasingly remark, and he softly chuckles behind me. "I don't like when you're like this," he jests, and my eyes close under the warmth of his hand over my belly. "I like you," I wished to tell him as I said last night, but I've already said too much. "Why do you live in a bus again?" I question instead, hoping to ignore the unspoken. He sighs. "Why does it matter where I live?" "I'm just trying to understand you. You're a millionaire, and you live in a converted school bus in the woods behind a biker bar in the middle of nowhere." "This isn't nowhere. It's North Carolina. I own these woods, and I like my converted school bus. Stop being a judgmental Judy." His tone turns defensive. "I'm not judgmental. You could own a mansion in the hills. You could have a sports car or an airplane. I don't want an airplane. I do own a sports car, and this year I'm on target to make over $1 billion. "Fine, you make over $1 billion in oil." "Who told you that?" His voice lifts in wonder. "Fortune 500. I read up on Chester Chesterfield, knowing I'd met the Tennessee famous entrepreneur who went from rags to riches. There wasn't much info on the rags part of his story, though, only the riches and oil. "Fine. I'm proud of Stop and Pump," he admits. Now I'm stumped. "Stop and Pump?" I snort, shifting on the mattress to look at him over my shoulder. "Those are gas stations with convenience stores attached." "Yes, and I own them." I flip completely onto my opposite side to face him. "You own service stations?" He falls onto his back. "Got something against service stations?" "No, but how does it make you $1 billion unless you own the entire company?" I snark, pausing a beat as he stares at me with a gleam in those dark eyes. "You own the entire company, don't you?" I hold my breath, waiting on his answer. Yes, that's the company that makes me $1 billion. But I thought, again, something wrong with owning gas stations, he defends, his eyes narrowing. No, but the article said oil. Chesterfield Oil is one of the largest companies on the East Coast, specializing in oil production and related services. Where do you think gasoline comes from, darling? I know the answer, but when I read oil, I assumed incorrectly. If my money is all you're interested in, then just tell me now, and we can stop whatever this is, he adds, tucking a hand behind his head and staring up at the ceiling once more. Is this something? I question, dropping my voice because I honestly don't know what I'm doing with him. We're nothing alike, but something's drawing us together. I can't be the only one who feels it, even if it's only physical. As he hasn't answered me, I add softly, It isn't about the money for me. He sighs. Look, I have everything I need. I own the fugitive and the motel. That's what matters most to me. And Harper House. Ah, yes. The home for boys adds another layer to an already complex man. Okay, fine. You live in a tiny house as a billionaire, I say. Then I recall why he doesn't live in a regular house. He gave it to 3 boys, not his own, so they could have a large house filled with love and everything they need. Something else comes to mind, and I realize we're all over the map, but I have to ask this question. Why did you sleep with me that first time? Besides my asking, why did you do it? He stares back at me, holding his gaze with mine. In your office, you told me I had sorrowful, soulful eyes, and that's what attracted me to you in the first place. I saw something in your eyes that reminded me of myself, and I wanted to chase away that sadness. I knew you could spark, darling, and I wanted to see those kinds of flames. Biting at my lower lip, I didn't know how to respond. Wow. I leaned forward and kissed him, quick and stolen before I rolled to my other side, fighting the biggest grin, like the cat who's caught the mouse. Blindly, I reached behind me for his hand, returning it to my belly, covering it with my own. The coarse hairs on the back of his tickle my palm. Immediately, he shifts to press closer to me, and his hand relaxes against my skin, remaining in place of his own accord. He nuzzles his nose into my neck, and I settle into him at my back. I retract what I said earlier, he whispers. I like you like this, and I like him a lot more than is safe for my heart.
Chapter 16. Another morning after. Chet. This woman can really get under my skin. While I'd been anticipating her arrival in the bar, I wasn't prepared for her mouse costume and how it would hug her body, letting everyone know how fit she is. I also wasn't prepared to find her cozy at a table for 6 with Todd next to her. He's my best friend, and he'd never dip into what's mine, but I saw red. Then Stryker had to push me when I was already making a statement by encroaching on her space while she stood at the bar. Mine, my stance had said. But then she had to run her mouth, and as much as I wanted to shut it by kissing her silly in front of my bar, I didn't know how she wanted me to play it. Is she some socialite slumming it? Because if she is, I want nothing of that. I've been there before. Or would she allow me to claim her, announcing our relationship to others? Without knowing which way to go, I'd left, needing time to cool off before I did something stupid, like sling her over my shoulder and carry her out of the place. I hadn't cooled off enough, because I practically did the same thing a half an hour later. I'm not surprised when I wake alone in the morning. However, I am surprised when Scotia steps out of my bathroom and stands at the foot of the bed. Both our eyes leap to the same thing. My morning wood, standing erect, tenting the sheet that's draped loosely over my body. During the night, I'd peeled off my clothing down to my skivvies, Scotia remained in that damn costume that hugged her curves and left nothing to the imagination. She's standing at the foot of my bed, eyes wide and hungry on the appendage peaked at attention. And then she does the damnedest thing. She lowers the zipper of her costume and slides it down her body. Stripped before me is a sultry woman in a nude bra and matching lace panties. I have to give it to her. She likes pretty underthings, and even in the dull color, she's a vision. "What you doing, darling?" My voice cracks like a prepubescent teen. "No talking," she says, her voice quiet as she climbs back up the platform near my feet and crawls over me like a starving predator. The way she looks at me gets me every time. She's so hungry, and I want to believe it's more than sex. She's starving for attention. I don't want her to be another Henny, status-thirsty, money-loving, and sex-desperate. After last night's conversation about the service stations and my near billion, I'm still a little doubtful. This morning is probably not a good idea. However, my dick has other thoughts, especially when she tosses 2 dark packages next to me on the mattress and then curls her hand around my thick shaft holding up the sheet. Her eyes focus on where she's cupping my dick so reverently, stroking up the length and squeezing the crown. Darling, I practically whimper. Her touch is just right, yet not enough. "I didn't really get a good look at you the first time," she says, her voice quiet as she inspects me with the palm of her hand, squeezing and tugging the stiff length, ready to blow. "May I?" Her head pops up, and those silver eyes, polished to perfection, question me. For all her confidence, there's an innocence to her. She wants me. I have no doubt of her desire. But she doubts herself, and I can't get a read on it. I also can't deny her when that vulnerable look lands on me. Like I told her last night, her eyes drew me in. I see something in her. I see something of myself in her as well. Her heart is lonely. Who hurt her? And why? How? With her shield down and the shutters open, the real Scotia shines, even if a little tarnished. She's more beautiful than she knows when her words are genuine sugar instead of all salt. I slide the sheet down, taking my boxers with it, lowering both to my thighs. I'm wearing old, loose plaid underwear because I'm at the end of my stack. I need to do laundry. But that's the last thing on my mind when her firm hand wraps around my bare shaft. Heat, pressure, bliss. My eyes roll back a second as she caresses me, taking her time to slide up and down the hot skin pulled taut. "Scotia," I groan. Her touch is a tickle, light and teasing, when I want fast and hard. She gives me just a bit of what I need, squeezing harder, tugging tighter. The tip leaks, and she uses her thumb to spread the liquid. Her head lowers, and I'm engulfed in more heat, wet and wild. Her tongue circles the shaft before her lips pucker at the crown. My hips buck, and Scotia pulls back. "Sorry," I mutter, feeling as if I frightened her. But my body can't help its response to her exploration of me. Surely she's familiar with male anatomy. My thoughts flip to that damn box of condoms in her office, and my head rolls to the 2 packages on my bed. "Where'd you get those?" I huff. "Your bathroom," she says, her voice smoky and sleep-laden. Her hand continues to stroke me, now moistened from her mouth, making the glide slippery. I don't ask any more questions, and her head lowers again, drawing me deep within her mouth. She sucks and swirls, drawing out the pleasure, until I'm ready to break. But I don't want to do it like this. I press at her shoulders, and the look in her eyes stabs me. It's not a devilish glance, but one of fear. "You didn't like that?" she whispers, her eyes lowering to her hand wrapped around the base of my throbbing appendage, a part desperate for more of her. "I loved it, but I'm about to blow, and I want inside you." Her breath hitches, and she reaches for a condom. Now I'm as modern as they come, and I understand all the precautions behind precautions, But Scotia seems overly condom concerned. What's her obsession with them? You're pretty worried about them condoms, I state, wondering if I should have something to be worried about. It doesn't make sense that the woman anxious about sucking me correctly would have something I could catch, but I still want to know her thought process. I'm not on the pill. The statement surprises me. I've never been. For the second time, Scotia hesitates. Her hand uncurls from my thickness, but I'm quick to catch her wrist. I hate awkward conversations, but I want to understand her. I want to know what's going on in that pretty head of hers. Why not? It's intrusive, but I'd still like to know. Scotia swallows, and I watch the roll of her throat, wanting to lick along her skin on that slender neck. When I was married, we always used condoms. There didn't seem to be a point on being on the pill. And if I was to get pregnant, well then, she shrugs. I already know she only has one child. You aren't looking to get pregnant now, are you? I confirm, giving an anxious chuckle, uncertain how I feel about this topic in my mid-40s. Don't be preposterous, she huffs. I'm 48. And while I've been told I could still get pregnant, it'd be the last thing I'd want at this stage of my life. Like the flip of a switch, she has returned to haughty Scotia. Don't get your knickers in a twist, darling. I'm just trying to understand you. Trying to figure you out, Pickle Princess. And your husband's dislike of phallic symbols, especially after the weirdness of you keeping that old box of condoms. She's quiet for a second, but I have an issue that needs tending, and I'd like her to take care of it. Something else niggles inside me, though, and I realize once more I want to take care of her. Scotia seems like a woman in need of some positive reinforcement. Like assuring her I think she's sexy and she doesn't need to be perfect. Like telling her it's okay to have secrets, just don't ever lie to me. Like I'm not shying away from her when I question her. I want her. I want us to be together. But I don't say any of those things. Condom, I mutter instead. Put it on me. Scotia's quick to do the honor of sheathing me. Her fingers hastily roll the rubber down my shaft. Holy hell, it shouldn't be such a turn-on. But the second she finishes, her hand strokes upward, and I'm almost seeing stars again. She scoots her body closer to my stiff appendage, straddling my thighs until she's at my hips. I'm not fast enough with my suggestion, and she impales herself on me. She'd pushed aside the thin, lacy covering at her heat and drew me into her body with one swift motion. My head tips up. I was about to offer I'd touch her a bit. But the ease with which I've slid into her tells me she was more than ready for this. She stills, and I glance up at her face. Her expression has shifted. She's pleased with herself, like a proud kitten getting a favorite toy. Is she playing with me? Then her hips flex and all thought goes out the window. Her palms rest on my chest, fingers curling into the hair covering my pecs. After a glimpse of her pretty boy assistant, I'd guessed Scotia to like the clean-cut, manscaped, hairless types. But the way her fingertips are raking through the thick mass on my chest tells me she likes the coarse covering. Her pleasure-filled expression turns to ecstasy as she moans while she drags her fingers down my body. Her hips rock back and forth, coasting over me, within her. Like that, darling? I croak, aware that I like it more than I should. She purrs in response, and I realize I like her, which is just weird because we don't make sense. We have nothing in common. Then she sits up, straightening her body over mine, shifting my position within her. And I realize we do fit rather nicely, at least like this. Her hips start to undulate in sharp, short rolls, causing her to pulse around me, and friction builds as her clit rubs over my pubic bone. Her eyes close and her head turns to the side. She's lost in the rhythm she's creating with my body, feeling me connected to her. Watching this strong-willed woman take from me what she needs is doing strange things inside my chest. My palms lazily caress her bare thighs, stroking upward before tickling my fingertips down to her knees. I repeat the path while she rocks faster, increasing the pleasurable tension. She reaches for her chest, pressing one palm above her breast, while the other curls around her neck and scoops up her long hair from her neck. She's an erotic vision, and my hips buck upward, her eyes flip open, and her sight lands on my face. "Do that again," she whispers. A quiet command mixed with her cautious asking makes me want to give her anything. I repeat the quick thrust and she gasps. Her hands fall back to my chest, palms flat as we fall into a dance of her short shifts and my sharp surges. Her head tilts back like a wild animal and her mouth falls open as an elongated groan fills the space around us. She's falling apart over me. The look of passion on her face, I put that there. And the thought does something to my heart. Tight and deep within her, I feel every clench, every clutch. It's too much, and I increase my thrusts, tapping into her once, twice, 3 times until I'm over the edge myself. I grasp at her hips and hold her still over me, keeping her in place to take all I give. And for a second, I wish I was bare and spilling into her. We take a minute to enjoy the aftershocks of many twitches and final drops before she presses off my chest and my hands glide down her hips. I'm worn, but my head rolls on the pillow to face the second package on the bed. I'm going to need a moment before a repeat. She laughs, and I turn my head to glance up at her. She looks different, relaxed, satisfied, happy. Still seated over me, still with my dick inside her, her laughter ripples up my body and I slowly smile. I haven't heard her laugh before. Think it's funny I'm an old man, need a few minutes to recuperate? I tease, quickly jackknifing upward. My hands grab her firm backside, keeping her in place as I soften. Her hands cup my cheeks, and those silver-polished eyes undo me a bit. "I think you're a beautiful man," she whispers. Her gaze lowers to my lips, and her head begins to tip forward until the sharp rap on the hard exterior of the bus surprises me. Sensing Scotia's need to retreat, I slide both hands up her back and press against her shoulder blades to keep her in place. "Big Papa, you in there?" Jed Fleming hollers, knocking on the door at my back. As a converted school bus, there's still an emergency exit at the head of my bed. "What you want?" I call back, a little too loud for the closeness of Scotia, and she flinches in my arms. I stroke up and down her back, attempting to settle her. Her hands on my cheeks slid to my shoulders, but now cover her face as if Jed can see her. He can't actually, as the bus's outer shell is raised feet above ground level. "Is Scotia with you? It's time for her to get a move on. The girls need to get back to Green Valley." I shake my head and press a quick kiss to Scotia's shoulder. "Okay, give her a minute." My voice is still loud, but necessary for it to travel out of the sealed-up structure. "Had all night," he bellows in return, and then I hear deep laughter. Damn him. If Jed weren't another business investment, I'd be riding his ass for this interruption. Then again, as I glance at Scotia, I realize I might owe Jed in the end. "Hey," I whisper to her, reaching for her wrists and tugging them down to see her face. "Why do I feel like a teenager caught in the back of a minivan?" "That ever happened to you?" No comment, she admits, and I can't help but grin. Miss Buttoned-Up business suit might have a bit of a wild streak in her past. Wonder what else she's hiding about herself. "Ever get caught having sex in the back of a bus?" I tease. "Never," she shrieks until she puts 2 and 2 together. Her hands cup the sides of my neck, and I like her touch returned to me. "Have you ever been caught in the back of the bus with a woman?" she hesitantly asks. "Never been on this bus with a woman before, so that's a firm negative," I clarify for her, and a soft smile curls her lips. Her silvery eyes sparkle. "I like you like this," she whispers, stroking her fingers over my beard. She's sweet after sex, and I'd like to bring out more of the saccharine bits than the acidic spice in her. I'll take that vinegar in her for what it is, and her dash of salt on occasion as well. But I want more sugar. I like her like this. Chapter 17. Winter Surprise. November. Chet. Henny? Finding Hennessy Miller at Harper House was the last thing I expected when I opened the front door on this early November evening. Before me on the stoop stood the woman of my dreams 25 years ago. Same blonde hair, same bright blue eyes, same sheepish smile that made my insides flip once upon a time. I'd been hoping to see Scotia tonight, as I hadn't seen her most of the week. Mara told me our volunteer needed the day off, and I wondered why. Although Mara seemed to know, she hadn't offered any hints to me.
"Hello, Chester."
Henny's smile widens.
"I took a chance you might be here."
"Come in," I offer, remembering my manners as the blast of wintry air hits me. I step back so she can enter the grand foyer of the house. Our eyes focus on one another for a long minute, and a million questions scramble through my mind.
"I can't believe I remembered where this place was,"
she says, breaking contact and looking around the 2-story cathedral ceiling of the entryway. Of the house I built for her. She'd never seen the interior before. She refused to enter the house.
"It's beautiful."
"I don't suppose you were just in the neighborhood." This house up on the mountain isn't anywhere near where Henny grew up. As Knoxville royalty, her father owned a hydroelectrics company using the Little Tennessee River as an energy source. Living in one of the surrounding valleys was the last thing she wanted, which I didn't learn until too late. She eventually moved to Nashville. "Come in," I repeat myself, still in shock as I hold out a hand, waving in the direction of the great room. "Want to take your coat off?" She slips off her winter jacket and I take it from her, placing it over the back of a chair once we enter the large living room. She observes the intricate connex structure being built in the center of the floor and the collection of boys constructing it.
"Mrs. Pickle, come here,"
Louis calls out without looking up, and then falters with disappointment when he sees our guest is not his favorite book reader. I feel the same, kid. Scotia and I need to talk and iron out where we're at with one another.
"You're not Mrs. Pickle,"
Hunter states, following up Louis' observation.
"Hello,"
Campbell says quietly, watching Henny like he doesn't trust her.
"You're married,"
Henny quietly states. Is that disappointment in her tone?
Did I hear the doorbell?"
Savannah inquires as she enters the large room. "Savannah, this is Hennessy Miller." I don't know how I should label Henny. Do I explain she was once the love of my life? That she ripped out my heart and reminded me I was no better than my upbringing? Henny saves me from further clarification by holding out a hand to shake with Savannah.
"She's very pretty, Chester,"
Henny states, addressing me as if Savannah isn't standing before her. The compliment makes Savannah sound like a specimen to be assessed, and it reminds me of the old Henny, the gossipy, sugar-sweet woman disguising comments and insults and candy coating. It reminds me of someone else who I haven't heard from, and I don't like the comparison.
"You're a lucky man."
Savannah pauses, glancing up at me. She isn't my wife, I clarify, finding my voice.
"I'm going to go check on dinner,"
Savannah quickly states, dismissing herself.
"Are you here to build with us?"
Hunter asks Henny as Savannah exits the room.
"You can take Uncle Chet's place."
"Uncle Chet?" Henny questions, glancing at the child with an arched eyebrow before addressing him.
"I'm not here to build. No."
Hennessy knows my history. As a foster child, I didn't have any blood relatives. I had Davis, and eventually Harper accepted me because she loved him. Henny never knew Harper, and it's a good thing, because Harper was loyal, and she would have never approved of Hennessy. Davis didn't like Henny, and I almost lost my friendship because of my foolhardy blindness when it came to this woman. Why are you here, Hen? I guide her to a set of chairs on the edge of the room. My heart pumps a little faster because I don't want her asking more about the boys, learning about them, or misjudging their circumstance.
I shouldn't be here,
she suddenly says, taking in the boys before gazing back at the entryway. But you are.
I just wanted to see you.
I don't know how to respond to that. So I don't.
How is Davis?
My friend's name on her lips does not sit well with me. We fought so much over him. He and I fought so much over her. You have nothing to prove, he told me over and over again, but I disagreed. I wanted the woman, and I needed to better myself to get her. He died 7 years ago.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
She reaches for my forearm, and the touch reminds me of 1,000 soft caresses when we were young. We did a lot of touching. Back then, sparks flew. She was an outlet, electric and dangerous, while I was the key, warned never to be placed inside her. Her rebellious streak attracted me, and I loved that she chose me to love her. But she hadn't loved me. Her current touch is not the same thrilling sensation from my youth. Instead, something prickles up my skin in warning. Being dumped by the love of your life will change a man. So what are you doing here? I ask, slowly retracting my arm from under her hand and curious about this impromptu visit 20-plus years later.
I wanted to see what happened with our house.
She smiles, glancing up and around the room again. My house, you mean, I correct, as it never became ours. She sheepishly looks over at me, and her smile weakens. Those lips were so sweet, so eager, so delicious once upon a time. The memory is wicked. What she did to me was cruel. Yet who do I have to blame? I thought I knew her. I thought I could give her what she wanted. I thought she wanted me. I had been wrong.
Yes, your house, of course.
And your nephews? She inquires, curious about the Uncle Chet comment. Do you have children of your own? I ask, not interested in explaining Harper House.
Yes, 2.
She hesitates without giving further explanation. Her jaw tightens as if holding her smile in place, and I sense there's something she isn't telling me. I learned long ago I was never as good at reading Henny as I thought. But she still surprises me with her next comment.
We should have a drink sometime. Catch up, maybe.
What about Jeffrey? I state, recalling her husband as I grip the armrest, holding myself still at the shift in conversation. After all this time, she wants to catch up? What do I even say to her? I went on to make the millions you wanted. I went on to make something of myself. I'm involved with someone, sort of, I think, and now you want to catch up? There comes a time when too much time has passed for connection, reconciliation, or even explanation.
My husband passed away a year ago,
she clarifies, shifting her eyes away from me and back to the boys on the living room floor. I'm sorry to hear that. I am sorry for her loss. Jeffrey Heiner had the prestige she wanted, the family name, the history behind it, and the money. Never forget the money. What are you doing in the area?
Just visiting,
she states, remaining strangely vague. It's a conversation of quipped questions and short answers like an awkward interview. But I remind myself, Henny came to me.
So a drink sometime?
Before I realize what I'm saying, I answer. I'd like that, Hen.
Great. It's a date. I'll give you my number.
Reaching around herself for a bag, she produces a phone and asks me for my phone number. Then she texts me hers. She looks at the boys one more time, lingering over each one, and a strange sensation fills my gut. Is she wondering what it would have been like? Wondering how many children we would have had? What they would have looked like, with a combination of my dark waves and her blue eyes? I envisioned Hennessy as a mother. Just thought it would be the natural progression between us, perhaps. We'd marry, we'd have children, I'd take care of our family, the family I never had as a kid. Her gaze shifts, glancing up and around the great room, noting the large couch, the 2 armchairs where we sit, and the 2-story fireplace. A flat-screen television hangs above the mantel for movie nights, and a shelving unit holds bins of toys and stacks of board games. The large 3-paned window overlooks the mountain range, difficult to make out in the dark landscape, but there nonetheless. I built the home I thought she'd want.
I never asked for this, she'd said. It's so great to find you're still here, Chester. You look good.
Her smile deepens. Her lips look larger, different than I remember, and it throws me off. Something warns me not to trust her, but I ignore the nagging hint. The thing about me with Hennessy, I'm stupid around her. I always was, and apparently still am. You too. My shoulders tense, and my grin falsely grows. The more I look at her, the more there's something off about her appearance. Her eyes are pulled a little too tight at the corners. Her nose looks thinner. I stand to end this impromptu visit, and Henny follows my lead. I pick up her coat and walk her to the front door, holding open her winter jacket for her. She slips her arms into it. Such a gentleman, she teases over her shoulder, and 1,000 things flash before me. Frank Sepko taught me to be a gentleman. Hold the door for a woman, take her hand, bring her flowers. Life lessons on women from a service station gentleman, he teased. Things change, I mutter. Was I not a gentleman when we were younger? I wasn't polished, but I wasn't rough either. I was good to her. I'd assumed Henny would spiff me up once we were married. She'd teach me how to be better. Instead, she hardened me when she ripped out my heart. Yet some things stay the same. I never forgot you, Chester. The sound of my name on her lips feels wrong. I'm reminded she never called me Chet. She doesn't know me as him, and she definitely disapprove of Big Papi. I'm so glad you're still here. Her hand comes to my chest and she pushes onto her toes, pressing a kiss to the corner of my lips before I know what's happening. I'm stunned, as stiff as the banister near the stairs. My brain is slow to register the most important question that I don't want to ask myself. What does she want from me? Because there must be something. After all this time. Be careful on that drive, I say, as I open the front door in order not to catch her eyes, which are searching for mine. The night is cold and the scent of snow lingers in the air. A dark, sporty car sits in the driveway. I look forward to seeing you soon, Henny says, and her hand pats my chest once more. She was always touchy, and it distracted me in my youth. How could something so beautiful touch my filth? I'd marveled at the thought when I was young, but Henny touched me in more ways than one. I watch Henny with curiosity as she walks across the drive, slides into her car, and reverses into the night. When I close the door, I press my large back to it and tip my head against the panel, closing my eyes. Was someone here? Mara asks, coming out of her office off the entry. Hennessy Miller, I state. Hennessy Miller Heiner. What the hell did she want? Mara questions, nearly as surprised as me, and I glance at her. Mara and I have known one another for years, so we know each other's pasts. We've never been attracted to one another, giving us a true male-female friendship. In many ways, Mara reminds me of a female Davis, and I'm grateful to have someone like her in my life. Drinks. It's so unbelievable. Her husband is dead. Is she looking for sympathy? Does she want more from me? Does she want comfort in the form of something I'll never give her again? My money? My dick? My heart? I'm instantly disappointed in myself. Way to judge someone, Chet. Maybe she meant what she said. She only wants to have a drink and catch up. Drinks? Mara repeats, uncertainty filling her tone, along with the side of, I don't believe it. I stare at my nephew's caregiver. Yeah, I probably shouldn't believe it either. I don't know what she wants. I'm answering the unasked question, confused myself by Hennessy's sudden presence and how surreal it was to have her in the house I built for her.
I don't think I should see the inside. I'll only fall in love with it, and it can't be mine. You're in love with me, not him. You're mine.
Maybe this is a sign it's time for you to date, Mara states, and I blink back to the present. Henny? Anyone but, Mara harshly huffs.
Find a nice woman, settle down a bit, have stable companionship.
Mara has no idea about the instability of my relationships, the one-night stands, the distance I keep from women. The craziest thing I've done in years is Scotia Simmons. Thoughts of her collide with memories of Henny. The two women are night and day in appearance, but not quite so different in personality. It's one reason I've had my doubts about Scotia. My body doesn't distrust a thing about her, but I don't understand Scotia's motive to be with me. The way she looks at me, the way she touches me. I don't understand. Why me? And that question stems from what Henny did to me, because she'd had a motive, and I'd been fool enough to fall for everything. Who says I don't have all the companionship I need? I joke. Mara shakes her head, giving me a knowing look.
Wouldn't someone steady and stable be nice?
The question throws me off guard, and I wonder if she's speaking about herself. In the 6 years she's been with me and the boys, she hasn't dated once that I know of.
Dinner's ready,
Savannah announces, entering the front entry where Mara and I have remained, and I'm grateful for the intrusion on this awkward conversation. My thoughts rush to Scotia. She's stable. She runs her own business. She has a solid family and her sisters, but she's still a contradiction to me. What does a woman of independent means want with a man like me?
I wouldn't share you because I'd want to keep you for myself.
The words almost erase the strange sensation prickling my skin after Henny's exit. Scotia doesn't hold back, not in words or opinions, but she also doesn't hold back when we touch. She sparks like an unlit match, crackling to life, and I want to keep feeding that flame. I want to know how brightly she'll burn, how hot she will heat, how intense can she be. Maybe I should ask Scotia out on a date. However, I'm too old to date. Dating is some kind of youthful mating ritual, testing the waters of compatibility and leading toward a commitment I can't offer someone. I already have too many responsibilities as it is, and don't need the complication of a woman just because she smiles prettily at me. But you do like when Scotia smiles at you. Her eyes light up, her lips curl as though she knows a secret. The boys scramble to the bathroom to wash up, scattering my thoughts, and Mara does a quick survey of heads.
Has anyone seen Malik?
She asks the collective group.
Maybe he's upstairs,
Hugh suggests.
I didn't see him in the guest room,
Dewey volunteers, as he had to pass the bedroom to come downstairs for dinner. I'll check, I say, taking my time to search the upper rooms. I only grow slightly uneasy as I scan the lower floor. But by the time I reach the dining room, with one empty chair among the rows of boys, I've moved from unease to anxious. I couldn't find him. Mara glances up at me, her expression matching the concern in my chest.
I'll call the authorities.
"18. Arrested in truth. Scotia. Mrs. Simmons? This is Deputy Sheriff Hughes. The second my phone rang, I pounced on it, answering breathlessly without greeting. Yes? I cut him off. We've arrested a young man who had your business card on him. On a typical day, I wouldn't admit to knowing any young man with a business card. But Malik isn't typical. Deputy Sheriff Hughes didn't say the boy was Malik, but I'm already collecting my bag, knowing it can't be anyone else. He's been missing for 2 days. I'll be right there. I hang up without further explanation. When Maura called me 2 nights ago to tell me Malik was missing, I was at my office. I haven't left it, hoping he'd come here. Since the moment I met the boy at Harper House, I've had an affinity for him. I don't know how to explain it. That lost look, that silent, sharp mind. Something about him just spoke to me, and I want to gather him in my arms and tell him the world isn't always such a cruel place. I just wish he would open up to me. I race from a SUV parked behind the building and swiftly make it to the sheriff's department. Rushing through the front doors of the station, I nearly yell, "Where is he?" "Where's who?" Flo McClure states from the reception desk. The evening hour seems a little late for her to be working, but I don't pay her any mind. "The boy. Aaron Hughes called me about him." "You mean Deputy Sheriff Hughes?" Flo corrects me for calling Aaron by his given name and not his title. Bless his heart. His parents were at their wits' end with him and likely felt relieved when he slipped right into this position at the local sheriff's department. Flo takes her time to make the call back to him, asking him if he has a boy in interrogation. "Interrogation?" I question. "He's a child." "Kids still commit crimes. What could he possibly have done?" I don't need Flo to answer me as the deputy saunters into the reception area. "Mrs. Simmons, if you'll follow me," I'm led toward his desk with no sign of the boy. "Where is Malik?" "That the boy's name? He isn't speaking to me, but I found your business card on his person." I'd given Malik the card in case he ever wanted to speak to me. It was probably against protocol for Harper House, but I wanted him to know he could reach out to me when he was ready to talk. "Yes, his name is Malik." "Any idea where he's from?" "Isn't that supposed to be your job?" I remind him. It's been up to the sheriff's department to further investigate Malik's unexplained appearance, although Aaron is not the one assigned to his case. Deputy Boone is the investigating officer. Apparently, Officer Boone isn't present this evening. "He one of those homeless kids up on the hill?" "He is not homeless. He lives in a private residence that's a certified foster home. They're approved by the state and well provided for." I hope I've said that correctly. I don't want anything to happen to separate any of the children from Maura or Chet. I should have called them, but my first concern had been getting to Malik. "You seem to know quite a bit about the place," Aaron states as if I'm under investigation. "That's none of your concern," I admonish. "Or rather, it should be your concern. You should be investigating where this child came from and why he's missing. What happened to him? Does he have parents? A family? Are they missing him, or did he run away from them? Was he kidnapped or harmed? And how long has he been out there alone in the world, Aaron?" I feel myself growing hysterical with worry, and I clutch the pearls at my throat. "It's Deputy Sheriff, Mrs. Simmons." That's all he has to say to me? "What's the boy's offense?" "Caught him stealing food outside the Piggly Wiggly." My mouth falls open while my chest clenches. Poor thing. How is he stealing food outside the store? It's too cold for produce and products outside the building. "He was in the dumpster." I stiffen in my seat. Let me get this straight. He was in the dumpster, scrounging for food, and that warranted an arrest? "Well, he's not really under arrest. But you did cuff him, toss him in your vehicle, turn the lights on and drive him here?" "Maybe not the lights part. Did you handcuff him?" I'm aghast. "He could have been dangerous. He's all but 9 years old." I take a deep breath, placing my palm on my chest as my heart hammers within. "What's going on here?" Deputy Sheriff Chris Williams steps up to where I'm seated, and I turn on him. "Chris, how could you let this happen?" For a moment, he stares at me, shocked at my accusation. Chris Williams is the son of an acquaintance of mine, Debbie Williams, who is a local second-grade teacher. His daddy is a decent man, having looked out for his only boy by using his pull with Sheriff James to help get Chris into the department when he was of age. "What's going on here?" Chris directs again to his fellow deputy, and then blanches at the explanation Aaron gives about cuffing a 9-year-old. Chris scrubs at his forehead, pinching the skin a bit before his eyes meet mine. "Mrs. Simmons?" "Now don't you Mrs. Simmons me, Chris. Your mama would be ashamed of this situation. She is a school teacher. What do you think she'd say?" "Yes, ma'am, I agree, and I don't reckon your daddy would approve either," I continue. "No, ma'am, He definitely wouldn't, but no buts, Chris. Where is my boy? I'm almost shrieking. Malik must be so frightened and obviously hungry if he was digging in the trash. Hughes, get the kid. As Aaron hoists his lazy body out of his chair, Chris leans toward me. Mrs. Simmons, I apologize for all this. Hughes is brand new and excitable. Let's just say the department has a budget. We don't always get the most qualified applicants given what we can pay. Sometimes it's impossible to know a person's character until they're in the field. But that's really no excuse. I'll take this to my grave and deny I said this to you, but we have to do with what we have. Hughes is a warm body on these late-night shifts. It's either he feels the spot or no one does. It just is what it is. Chris's words do nothing to appease my ire, but I try to understand. A gruff voice from the front area demands to speak to the sheriff at the same time Malik rounds the corner off a hallway under the firm hand of Aaron. Malik! I squeal, and the boy runs to me. He smells 6 ways to Sunday, but I draw him to me, pressing his little head to my chest. You had no right to frighten him, I scold Aaron, narrowing my eyes at him. Traffic duty the rest of this month, Chris adds, his voice more assertive than I've ever heard. You arrested a child. You scared him half to death, and he's obviously hungry and afraid. Where's your compassion? Aaron mutters. I wouldn't say scared to death. Not another word from you, Chris interjects, his irritation and annoyance with his co-worker apparent. Perhaps Chris is growing into his own. He might make a fine sheriff one day after all. What do I need to sign? I'm taking him home with me. Now, Mrs. Simmons, I can't just turn him over to you. I need to follow protocol and find out who's responsible for him. Chris turns back to me. I'm responsible for him. The gruff voice returns, and I spin to face the front area of the department. Chet stands tall on the opposite side of Flo's reception counter. Mr. Chesterfield? Chris questions. Great to see you again. Chris's face softens, and I'm hopeful he's familiar with Malik's case. You can call Veronica Mason with the Department of Child Services if you need further evidence of the child's current placement. Chester informs Chris. Flo, get Miss Mason on the phone, Chris directs, sounding important in his own right. At this point, though, I just want to take Malik out of here. I'm stroking his head, smoothing back his oily hair and wrinkling my nose again at the stench coming off him. While we wait for Chris to get the confirmation he needs, Chet is ushered around reception and crosses to Aaron's desk. Thankfully, Aaron hasn't spoken again. What are you doing here? Chet asks me, keeping his voice low. They called me. How? His gruff voice turns gruffer as he glances around the room. I gave Malik my business card for sticky situations just like this one. Chet glares at me. We'll deal with that later, he warns, keeping his eyes on me. Chris finally returns with some paperwork for Chet to sign and gives us permission to leave. Stay out of those dumpsters, kid, Aaron chides under his breath, and I'd like to skin his hide for acting like this innocent child is a criminal. We decide to leave my car at the sheriff's department and ride together in Chet's truck back to Harper House. Thank you for coming tonight, I address him, keeping my voice quiet as Malik falls against my side. Where else would I be? He quips. I don't have the faintest idea what he does with his time, between running a business that he doesn't talk about and owning a bar where he seems to spend most of his time. I don't know much about his daily life. I also know he hasn't called me. He shifts on his seat and swipes a hand through his hair. I've been staying at the house, spending my days searching everywhere I could think a kid might run. I glance down at Malik, knowing he can hear us and wishing he would answer the million-dollar question. Why did he leave Harper House? And where has he been these past 2 days? Better yet, where is he from? When we return to the house, Maura immediately sweeps Malik up in her arms and whispers sweet things to him. You need a shower, little man. She teases him eventually and guides him up the stairs to the bathroom. I want to follow. I'm afraid to let him out of my sight, but it's not my place, and I've never felt so helpless. How about a drink? Chet mutters, and I nod, following him into an office off the front hall. This is Mora's private stash, Chet says after reaching into her desk for a key and opening a locked upper cabinet to retrieve a bottle of whiskey and 2 tumblers. He pours a thick sliver for each of us. After offering me a glass, he takes a seat at Mora's desk, which faces the front window, and I take a seat in an accent chair. Why are you so drawn to this kid, darling? Chet asks, and I stare into the amber liquid in the tumbler in my hands. I don't know, exactly. I wish I had a specific answer to give him, but I don't. Am I misguided? Am I trying to replace a loss from over 26 years ago? Another child, lost before his time to be born. We learned he was a son. Mask in place, Scotia. There are so many troubled children out there. Carl's mission was to keep them healthy, both physically and mentally. Using Carl as my excuse explains things best. The task of my husband wasn't always easy, though, because of who he was inside and the position he was in. Why don't you have more children, Scotia? That's intrusive. I bite. It's been a difficult question to answer over the years, and my standard answer normally revolves around God and Darlene. The dear Lord only sought to bless me with 1 baby, and she was perfect. But it wasn't the whole truth. Just answer the damn question. Goodness, this man can bust my bonnet. His sharp tone startles me. Mask in place. I want to warn myself, but the shield is stifling me, and I just want to breathe. This man has opened me up in more ways than one, and my heart is on the line with him. But there's something else happening to me. I feel raw and edgy inside. Perhaps it's Malik's disappearance and the potential of losing him forever. Perhaps it's the man sitting before me, glaring at me, and if I don't risk myself, I might never gain him either. I can't close off my emotions tonight. I'm tired of heavy secrets, living half a life and protecting an empty heart desperate for love. Carl always used condoms. Chet has heard me say this before. He was promiscuous but discreet. He knew the importance of protection both for himself and for me. Not that we often, He didn't want to ever risk infecting me, which was sweet until you considered the truth. My husband was fucking around. Jesus, how could you be so blasé that he cheated on you with other women and returned to your bed? Chet takes a long drink of his whiskey, emptying the glass, and I'm a bit startled by the offense in his tone on my behalf. I lick my lips before the remainder of my confession slips free. Because he wasn't with women. Chet is startled into silence, which is what I expect. He's processing what I've said as he stares at me from Mora's desk chair. What do you say to such a confession? I shift in my seat, taking another sip of the strong alcohol before I speak. My husband was gay. I answer the question he isn't asking to be clarified. We were married for almost 23 years when he died, and I knew his sexual orientation most of our marriage. I was his cover story. We had an agreement. We were each other's best friend, and it was awful. I let out a deep breath, releasing years of pressure within that exhale. 20, 30 years ago, you couldn't be a pediatrician and a homosexual. It just couldn't be done. The stereotypes, the stigma. He wasn't into little boys. He liked grown men, but his desires and his profession conflicted. I take another deep breath, feeling myself on a roll with this admission. Do you have any idea how hard it is to accept that the man you love can never fully love you like you want, like you feel you deserve? It wasn't in his nature. He wasn't truly bisexual, but he occasionally gave me what I needed. And God, did I have needs. You have no idea how lonely I've been. A tear slides along my cheek. The confession rolls off my shoulders like a weighted blanket finally falling free. I'm not certain why I'm crying, though. Does anyone know this about him? You're the first person I've ever told. I'd never told a single soul. My sisters had a hint that my marriage wasn't all it was intended to be, but they don't know the full truth. Not one person knew Carl's orientation outside the men he fucked and the few he loved along the way. I swore I'd take it to my grave. But I've just told you. Chet sits forward in the chair he occupies, and it occurs to me what I've done. I've just bared my soul and given away my biggest secret to a man filled with secrets. I shouldn't have said anything, I mutter, suddenly regretting my admission despite the freeing release I feel at finally sharing the information with someone. Mask in play. You shouldn't have told me. Chet seeks confirmation. Yes. In the dim light of Maura's office, I don't look up at him. I take another sip of the throat-burning whiskey instead. Why not? Chet asks, his voice rising a bit. Because You don't trust me. Is that it? He interjects, cutting me off before I can explain. He has a habit of doing this to me. No, it's just, what? He practically shouts, and I turn my head toward the partially closed door. I don't want you to judge me, I argue back, keeping my own voice lowered. Are you serious? How could I judge you for your husband's sexuality? Well, you're so nosy about children and condoms, and I just... Before I finished, Chet is out of the office chair. His large body moves so quickly the piece of furniture rocks back and forth with his release. He reaches forward for my glass, placing it on a small side table. Then he's kneeling on one knee before me, brushing a thick thumb over my cheek to wipe away another errant tear. He shakes his head. What am I going to do with you, Scotia Simmons? I shrug. Am I that hopeless to him? What did you get out of it? He asks, after staring at me for a long minute. I became a part of Green Valley society, the wife of a respected doctor from a wealthy family in the community. Listening to myself, I hear the words as they might sound to him. Shallow, heartless, cold. Money and status are really important to you, aren't they? When you come from nothing, it certainly is. But that's not something else I plan to share with him tonight. Let him think I've been entitled all my life. I don't care. I don't need his judgment. Mask in place, Scotia. Don't do that, he warns, shaking his head again. What? I snap. That wall-building thing. You're shutting me out. Why do you even want in? I question, feeling defensive and vulnerable in the same breath. Don't have any idea. Just like you can't answer about that kid. Chet begins, nodding toward the door, implying Malik. But there's just something about you. His thumb continues to caress my cheek, and I turn my face into the tenderness. You must think I'm pathetic, I state. No. Hopeless, I mutter. More like I have hope for you yet. His lips slowly crook upward, and another tear drips from my eye. He leans forward and gives me the softest of kisses. It's featherlight, and I open for more when a soft knock on the door interrupts us. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I wanted to say goodnight. Chet's hands instantly drop from my face, and he pulls back as though he's been caught doing something he shouldn't be doing. Sure. Good night. My head swivels back and forth between Savannah and him, noting he's suddenly tongue-tied with a touch of pink in his cheeks. What is this? Is he embarrassed he got caught kissing me? What in the hell is he doing with me, then? I can't go through this again. With all I just confessed to him, I can't have a man who wants to be invisible. A man who only shares half himself with me and hides the rest. I don't want half a man. I want a whole heart, damn it. Once Savannah spins away from the door, I shove at Chet, knocking him off balance from his one knee. What the fuck? He mutters, but I'm already standing. I need to get out of this house, but I rode with Chet. "Savannah, wait!" I call out, hoping to get a ride to town with the other woman. I can't do love in the modern era. I'm not a casual sex kind of person. I'd had casual sex with my husband our entire marriage, and that was a rare occasion. I want something real. I want someone who belongs to me. Someone who wants me, and only me. "19. When the student schools the master." Scotia. "Mama? Darlene, baby." I'm breathless from both lunging for my phone in my office and relief in hearing my daughter's voice as I haven't heard from her in 2 weeks. "I'm sorry it's been a bit." She immediately apologizes. "I know you're busy," I assure her. As a new doctor, her schedule is ridiculous. My baby girl works hard. Her father would be so proud of her. "There's one reason I'm calling now. I don't have much time. I've been very busy, but I wanted to tell you that Henry invited me to go with him to his family's home for Thanksgiving." The excitement in her voice should thrill me, but I can't ignore the disappointment I feel. Darlene is my only immediate family. "Which one is Henry?" I tease. I want my daughter to be an independent woman of means and strong-willed in manner. I'm proud of her for selectively dating. I'm equally thankful she did not settle on that Beau Winston. She needs to play the field, unlike me, and experience a variety of men before picking one. I was raised to believe the man in a woman's life determined her worth. "You need a man," my mother stated. Her voice haunts me. "When you're married, when you have children, your worth is in your home." Darlene's laughter pulls me back to the conversation. "Henry's the medical student I told you about last time, Mama. I really like him." Her admiration is evident in her voice, and I'm happy for her. "But I do feel bad. If you want me to come home, I can." Well, I appreciate her saying what she said. Her tone drastically shifts with her offer. She doesn't want to come home. "Don't you worry about me. I'll spend time with Aunt Naomi or Aunt Beverly," I counter, even though that's the last thing I'll be doing. I'm not going to invite myself to either of my sisters' homes. They each have new memories to make with their new beaux on the upcoming holiday. "Are you sure?" "I'll be just fine," I lie, gritting my teeth to force the practiced smile I've used most of my life. The forced energy works as my words sound more agreeable than I feel. "You just go have a good time with your Henry." I'm not lying with this encouragement. I want her to enjoy herself with men. Safely, of course. There's no reason to limit herself as I did. "I hate to run already, Mama, but I've got to go. I'm on call." "Of course, baby. Be safe," I say as a reminder to protect herself against the men in her life and the sick people she heals. "I'll call you on Thanksgiving," she tells me, and I want to remind her that's 2 weeks away, but I don't. I grit my teeth and smile weakly to myself. "Thank you, honey. I'll talk to you then." "Love you, Mama," she says, and while I'm still telling her I love her, the phone goes dead. I lower the phone to my desk while my body sinks into my desk chair. After spending 2 endless days in my office, work is the last place I want to be. The emotion of finding Malik and telling Chet about Carl yesterday has me unfocused today. But pickle products don't sell themselves. November isn't prime pickle season, but we're branching out from our original fried pickle recipe to include a variety of spice levels and a cookbook. We also have a new apparel line for our retail store. We ran a contest for new slogans, and the favorite was, "Just deal with it." We plan to launch our newest endeavors in the next few days to celebrate National Pickle Day on November 14th. It's a big deal, another one of our sayings. I stare at the apparel images before me on my computer, lost in my head. Will the real deal ever happen for me? Am I just too old to consider falling in love? Was Carl my once-in-a-lifetime, even if it wasn't the lifetime I thought I'd have? I can't answer my own questions, and it frustrates me. I'm even more frustrated that I opened up to a man I hardly know, one who, despite being filled with all kinds of contradictions, I'm highly attracted to. Just the thought of him does something to my insides and my panties. But I've been telling myself not to think of him after our encounter last night. His reaction as he was caught kissing me is still unsettling. It's Carl all over again. Secrecy. I want someone who claims me as his because he wants me and does it proudly, not simply to protect himself, not to hide himself. Besides, my husband and I didn't kiss, and it's one thing I've liked so much with Chet. But I can't be with a man who doesn't see my value as more than keeping his secrets. I didn't want to hide Chet. I wanted to keep him for me, and there's a difference in that logic. I want someone for me that's mine alone, not shared, not compromised, not a secret. Someone who is mine. Maybe I should date. Maybe I need to experiment more. Maybe I need to be more open like I suggest my daughter be. But first, I need to figure out what's wrong with me. As in, why aren't men attracted to me? So, I have some final thoughts on the pickle party, Gideon states, rushing into my office. He has had some good ideas, making him more valuable than my past few assistants. One of those ideas includes a party to celebrate fried pickles on our 5-year anniversary at Jeannie's country western bar. Getting Jeannie Lee to agree to a celebration at her place caused me to swallow a bit of my pride, but she definitely acquiesced in the name of good business practice. Why in tarnation would I allow you to throw a party in my establishment? You don't even like me, and I can never forget what you said about my daughter. Woman of loose morals? Jeannie huffed at me when I approached her with my plan. I knew it would be an uphill battle, and I had the event barn at Donner Lodge as a backup, thanks to Jennifer Winston's kind offer, but I really wanted Jeannie's. Where else should fried pickles be celebrated other than at a bar? When I glance up at Gideon, I bite my cheek so as not to bark at him for interrupting me. He isn't really disturbing anything. My gaze falls on the pickle trophy I won, kicking off this new journey in my life. The vertical pickle immediately reminds me of a penis. Mrs. Simmons, my name pulls my attention to my assistant. Gideon, sit down for a second. At my command, he suddenly drops into one of the chairs across from my desk. Swallowing, I fold my hands over the wooden surface and try to meet his eyes. On second thought, I don't think I can look directly at him as I ask my question, so I return my gaze to the phallic trophy. Gideon, I have a serious question and I'd like an honest answer. Not employee to employer, but from a man to a woman. My gaze hesitantly shifts to him, and his Adam's apple bobs along his throat. What's wrong with me? As a woman? His mouth falls open and quickly shuts. I hold my pose, squeezing my hands together. I will not snap at him, I remind myself. I asked for honesty. Please answer freely. I can handle it. The statement is meant to assure him I assume what he'll say will be critical. He continues to stare at me, not offering anything. Perhaps I should guide you, but don't let me sway your answers. Tell me something good about me. You have amazing hair. The comment startles me, and I instantly reach for the white strip. Like a magnet, people can't seem to help but notice it when first looking at me, and I've always hated it. As I aged, I decided to embrace the unique feature. With Chet's new habit of wrapping the strands around his finger, I'm rather pleasured with this part of me. Thank you, Gideon. And now for something not great about me. Gideon grits his teeth in a manner his lips pull back over them. His neck muscles stand out with the action. Sometimes you are kind of mean. Mean? I interject. The word in Gideon's high-pitched tone merges into Chet's deep tenor. Mean. I'm all too familiar with the term, but haven't paid too much attention to how it relates to my behavior until Chet mentioned the same word to me. Well, just kind of. I mean, nothing I can't handle. You're just mean, I repeat. Rough around the edges, he attempts to soften the critique. Mean, you mean? I nod, commiserating with his initial assessment. Well, just a little. He lifts his hand, pinching his index finger and thumb within an inch of each other. Then he spreads them a little farther apart. What do I do that's so mean? I ask, still hopeful for his honesty. Well, the thing is, sometimes, just spit it out, I snap. His eyes widen and I realize I've given myself my own verbal example. Okay. Yes, fine. I see. I drop my voice on each word. Gideon watches me, visibly nervous. Gideon, how would you recommend someone stop being mean, especially if, say, someone else didn't find it attractive? Are there people attracted to mean people? He questions, brows arching, and I stare back at him. In romance novels, women are always attracted to mean men, the swanky alpha, the blunt a-hole. He can insult her, punish her, even do some despicable things to her, which for all intents and purposes are abusive, yet he's always forgiven. A woman, however, who makes a few comments about another person is considered a bitch, and it's not a compliment. I dismiss his responding question. I consider myself honest, I defend, and Gideon sits up a little straighter. Sometimes people don't need quite so much honesty, he states, scrunching up his nose. Give me an example, I ask my assistant. Say a woman has a little hair on her lip, which I absolutely agree is not attractive. I mean, girl, get that squirrel tail off your face. Gideon waves his hand as if he's Hazel Cumberstone, eagerly agreeing with my assessment. However, no one wants to be reminded of their imperfections. His eyes flit to the white patch in my hair, and I bristle as I take his meaning. I had plenty said about me as a child. The mark of the devil was my favorite. Says me, never. My father disagreed with people's cruel assessment, saying the distinguishing mark meant I was chosen by God for something special in this life. As men, Gideon continues, we can be particularly sensitive. I don't want to be told my hair is thinning, or I look paunchy, or I have whiskers in my ears. But what if you do? Shouldn't someone tell you? I'm an eager student awaiting his answer, which he hesitates on for a second. No. Even if I ask, you should probably lie to me. But if I ask someone if they like my new shoes or if I look good in my suit, I don't want them to lie to me. Carl was always honest when I asked. When I thought I'd gained some weight, he agreed I had. Well, Mrs. Simmons, I think you're an exception to that rule, then. He smiles to soften his truth. Perhaps I am exceptional, but maybe I shouldn't be pointing out to others where they aren't. What do you recommend instead? Gideon stares back at me like I've asked the impossible. I leaned forward, prompting him to tell me the secret. Maybe you could try to be nicer? He suggests. My expression must suggest that's not specific enough, so he continues. Compliment someone instead. If you notice their hairy lip, compliment their lipstick instead. If you think they need to pluck their eyebrows, tell them how pretty their eyes are. I don't want to lie, though, I admit, as most of my life has been a giant lie. Mrs. Simmons, have you ever heard that saying, if you can't think of something nice to say, then don't say anything at all? Often, I remark. There's a newer saying. If you can't think of anything nice to say, you aren't thinking hard enough. Are you insulting my intelligence? I clip. With all due respect, this is what I'm talking about. He pauses, circling a finger in the air as he points at me. Maybe you need to consider that new suggestion. Think before you react. He nods several times, agreeing with his own assessment. I take a deep breath and a moment to consider what he said. If he had been anyone else in Green Valley, telling me I need to improve my delivery or perhaps keeping disparaging comments to myself, I'd have had choice words for him. But this is Gideon, and while my assistant, he is also new to the community. He doesn't have preconceived notions about me, so I'm appreciative of his lessons as an impartial mentor. I like your shirt, I say, and he slowly smiles. His face brightens, and I'm a little stunned. My assistant is a pretty man, not one I'm attracted to and way too young for me, but pretty nonetheless. His shirt today is hideous. Still, I can see the effect of telling him how much I like his shirt and recognize it's considerably different than suggesting he never be seen in it again. He stands, tipping his shoulder upward, giving off a little flare of excitement. Thank you. If that's all for now, I'll get back to party planning. Of course, yes. Make yourself useful. I pause, grateful for his assistance in securing genies for our party. Her bar is a popular place in town, and the joint business venture could be profitable for both of us. As you always are, I add, attempting kindness again. He takes a step around the chair where he sat and shakes his head. That was a lie, but I'll pretend it's a compliment. He winks. You know me so well, I mock. I do, and that's why there's hope for you yet, he states, just as Chet did. Is there hope? I want to believe so. Deciding I'm useless for the day, I head to my weekly manicure at the Beauty Mark. As I enter the salon, I'm immediately surprised to see a little boy in the waiting seats. Malik? I question the child, and his head pops up. Instantly, I note that he's younger than Malik by a few years, but looks exactly like him. How strange. I'm so sorry, I thought. May I help you? The sharp tongue of a woman startles me, and I turn to meet a face overdone with plastic surgery, puffy lips, too smooth forehead, taut eye corners giving her a continuously surprised appearance. Her blonde highlights are brassy, but I practice in my head what Gideon has taught me. I like your... I scan her up and down. Her shoes are decent. Is this your son? I pause, taking another glance at the child. He looks exactly like a little boy I know named... We don't speak to strangers, do we, honey? She hesitates on the endearment, careful not to address the child by name. Her eyes try to hold his, but his brown eyes are wide as he peers up at his mother. It's almost frightening how much those eyes could be a match for Malik's. I didn't mean, no offense taken. She cuts me off and reaches for the child, hastily pulling him by the arm from his seat, but his head twists in my direction, keeping his eyes on me. As I remain standing, waiting for the nail technician to call me forward, I can't take my eyes off him either. How much do I owe you? The woman asks of Tabitha, the hair tech. That's $30. 30? You hardly did anything. The woman scoffs. Tabitha blanches, looking up at her customer. This is a second-rate establishment. You shouldn't be charging such exorbitant prices. Second-rate? Exorbitant? $30 is not unreasonable, and this is not a second-rate place. It's the best in the valley. That's robbery, she states, rustling through her bag before handing over crumpled bills. I have nothing extra for a tip. Stepping forward, I'm unable to stop myself. You must be new to Green Valley? I question, forcing my best smile. I know the regulars in the Beauty Mark, and I've never seen her before. We're renting a cabin nearby, she admits, and then cringes as if she's said too much. Not that it's any of your business. It isn't my business, but I'm not about to let her insult Tabitha. Even though I've insulted the hair tech a time or two myself, newcomers are not open to opinion. Tabitha, put this woman's tip on my session today. I tip my head to the outlander. Welcome to Green Valley, I snip, holding back all the other things I want to comment on, like her tight forehead, Botox lips, and firm eye corners. Keeping my thoughts in my head, I smile as prettily as I can muster to this stranger, and I grit out, And I like your shoes. And all the while, her child stares at me with eyes like Malik, causing an eerie chill to ripple up my spine. The next day, I catch my breath when Chet enters Harper House. His hair is clipped short on the sides while the top remains longer, but not as long as it's been. His beard is trimmed tight to his jaw, accenting the edge of it. He smells exceptionally citrusy and warm today, and my mouth waters. My, You clean up nicely, I tease, unable to help myself as I'm reminded of our first meeting. That's because he went on a date, Hugh announces after exiting the study room, and all the cheer in my compliment deflates. My head whips from Hugh to Chet, who nervously scratches at the beard under his chin. It wasn't a date. It was only drinks. Isn't that a euphemism for date? Hugh questions as he stands inside the great room while the other boys work on an intricate Star Wars Lego project, including a variety of vehicles and extensive instructions. Where'd you learn that word? Chet asks, keeping his eyes on his nephew. Homework, Hugh states. What's a euphemism? Louis asks, not looking up from his building projects. Is when you call something common by another name, Dewey interjects. Like when people say dick for penis? Louis asks. My face heats while Chet chastises his nephew by groaning his name. Not exactly, Dewey explains. I believe Hugh used it correctly. Uncle Chet is substituting drinks with a woman for the term date. What you drink? Louis asks, not even looking up from his project. Water, Chet remarks, and Hugh scowls at his uncle. I don't care if he drank the entire Little Tennessee River. I want to know more details. Well, that sounds wonderful. That sounds awful. More teeth gritting, more forced smiling. Was your date with that lady who came to visit? Louis adds, and I'm about to inquire who said woman is when Hunter interjects. The one whose face looked like a Barbie doll? He pulls at the sides of his face, tightening the skin at his eyes and his lips. She didn't look plastic, Chet defends, and I want to question the child about surgeries and Botox, but I bite my cheek. See, I can be nice, and it's killing me. I'm sure she's beautiful, I reply, still chewing the inside of my mouth. She is. Chet catches himself on the admission, eyes wide as they leap up to meet mine. He quickly looks away with guilt written on his face, and I'm crestfallen. Nice or not, he's not attracted to me, or at least, not enough. He hasn't asked me out on a date, not for drinks, not even for coffee. We've never shared a meal of any sort besides a feast of our bodies. My skin crawls a little with the thought. I've been very unladylike with this man, and he's gone on a date with another woman. She's an old friend, he clarifies, as if that explains everything. I chew the inside of my cheek even harder. If I had a nickel for every time I heard that statement from Carl, I'd own land in Hawaii. How fortunate, I mutter, working hard to suppress how I really feel. I needed to go to the office today. We met after work. Oh, you work? I blurt, wishing I could retrieve the words as soon as I've said them. He's never mentioned details of his business beyond his net worth. I don't know what he does on a daily basis, where exactly his office is located, or how often he enters it. Yes, I work, he retorts. That place I make all my millions. The edge to his voice is unsettling. I don't care about your millions, I mutter, and his brow lifts, questioning me. I try to remember what Gideon said. Think before you react. I simply meant I didn't realize you were still hands-on with your business. I'm very hands-on in all manners. His dark eyes narrow. I wonder if he means outside of business, say, with the likes of me? Or does he mean he was handsy with his date? A woman enjoys a man with large hands, I mutter through clenched teeth. What does that mean? Chet asks, his voice rising as do his brows. Large hands equate to other large body parts, but I certainly cannot mention that in front of the boys. Nothing, I grumble. I hope you enjoyed your date. I snap shut the book I haven't finished reading to Malik and abruptly stand. Suddenly, I'm too warm despite the coolness near the large window. I lean down to run a tender hand over Malik's cheek. Then I step over to Louis and Hunter and press a kiss to each of their heads. Hunter hates it, but Louis smiles up at me. Scotia. Chet follows me as I hurry to the front hall to retrieve my winter jacket and bag. His hand grips my upper arm, stilling me from the frantic movements of rushing to put on my coat. No, really, Chet. I hope you had a nice time. I grin through the gritted teeth smile I've perfected over decades. Mask in place, Scotia. It almost hurts to restore the barrier. He shakes his head. It was only drinks. What is this? He questions slowly as if asking why I'm upset. But that can't be what he's asking. To question if I was upset would mean he has feelings for me, concern for my feelings, which he doesn't. She's only a friend. And what am I? The question tumbles forward before I think. His silence gives me the answer I expected. I'm nothing to him.
Stranger visits. Chet. Hey, boss. Someone's here to see you. Todd calls out to me when I arrive at the Fugitive. Between my drinks with Henny and then the showdown with Scotia, last night was total shit. I'd had a shit day consulting with my board, who was approached by a potential buyer. I could sell my company tomorrow and make enough money to last me the rest of my life. I could retire and spend the remainder of my time with the boys in this bar and motel. But do I want to sit still at 46? I haven't sat still in so long, I'd go crazy if I tried. So the thought of turning my company over to someone else does not sound appealing to me. The last thing I can tackle is another shitstorm. Who? I snap, knowing my agitation isn't with Todd. Put her in the bus, he clarifies, not answering my question, but smirking at me. Her? I pause. You what? I clip. He has some balls, that one, even if he is my best friend. Figured you didn't want the mouse to get away. He winks. Mouse? I question, glaring at him. His smirks turns into a guffaw, and he winks at Stryker sitting at the bar. I certainly wouldn't let her get away, but then again, she already slipped by me, the biker regular teases. What the hell? I retort, not understanding these guys and not in the mood for riddles. I'd be willing to trap that one, Bones adds beside Stryker, and my blood boils even though I don't know who they are referencing. I'm not in the mood for this, I grumble, and Stryker interjects. I'm in the mood, send her to me. Shut it, Todd warns, whoever he's protecting, she's someone important. She's Big Poppy's. I don't have anyone belonging to me, and that's the way it needs to stay. Women just mess with your mind and your heart, confuse your body and drain your soul. I stalk toward the exit through the pool room, having parked in front of the bar, as I typically do. You can thank me in the morning, Todd calls after me, and I flip him the bird. Just what I need. More headache. As I near the bus, I see the lights are on, but I can't get a read on who is inside my home. It pisses me off that Todd so casually let someone in, and I press at the front door with a little more force than necessary. All right, just what the... I freeze when I see Scotia sitting on the love seat that doubles as an extra-large lounger for me, alone. She sits at the edge of the cushion, elbows on her knees. Her head pops up at the rush of my body entering my space. What are you doing here? I don't know, she whispers. Her eyes question me, as if wanting me to tell her why she's in my home. My shoulders sag, and I hang my head. Between her aggravation the other night and her reaction over Hennessy, I don't know what to say to her. She's been all salt and vinegar, and I need sweet right now. Darling, it's been kind of a rough few days, and I can't play games with you right now. I exhale heavily after admitting the truth. I'm just tired. My mind has been all over the place after drinks with Henny. I've been trying to figure out what my ex-lover wants from me after all these years, and what the woman before me wants from me now. What am I? I didn't have an answer. There are so many things I could want Scotia to be to me, but I'm not willing to tell her. I'm afraid to tell her what I want. She doesn't remark on my plea not to play games, but she also doesn't move. She's dressed in jeans and that barn jacket again, which surprises me. It's different from the business suits I've typically seen her wear. She's also wearing knee-high boots and a scarf at her neck, The entire ensemble makes her softer, less intense, and reminds me of a woman under a hotel sheet one morning, looking vulnerable and scared. Feel like a beer? She wrinkles her nose before she lies.
Sure.
I step around her to the small fridge and remove 2 bottles. Before cracking them open, I turn back to her. Wondering if she'd be up for something, I ask, "You warm enough in that outfit?" Her brows crease in question. "Follow me somewhere?" I continue.
Sure,
she says again, her forehead furrowed. Her quiet, one-word answers are unnerving. What is she doing here? What does she want from me? Who am I to her? The questions are too much, and my brain needs a break. I place both beers in one hand and tug the coverlet of my bed, tossing it over my shoulder. Opening a cabinet, I remove a second blanket and lug it over the first. I tilt my head for Scotia to follow me, and we exit my home. Once outside, I lead her to the back of the bus. "I'll help you up," I tell her, as I nod toward the metal ladder hanging down from the roof. It doesn't reach the ground. I shove each beer bottle in a back pocket and grip her waist. She lets out a little squeal as I hoist her upward. She reaches out for the rungs, and I hold her until her feet land on the bottom step. "Up you go." She slowly climbs upward without question, and I follow her. On the top of the bus is a platform, flat and hanging over the rounded roofline just a little bit. The deck isn't terribly wide, but is still big enough for 2 to lie down on. Not that I've ever brought someone up here before to measure it in that manner. I only know it can hold me. I spread one blanket so we aren't on the cold wooden boards. "Lie down," I softly command, as I set the beer bottles on the platform. Scotia drops down to the blanket and lies back. I settle next to her and tug the second blanket primarily over her. I'm not cold despite the November air. We both gaze upward. "Wow," she whispers. I tuck my arm behind my head and just stare up at the star-splattered sky. The night air is crisp, and the darkness overhead is filled with pinpricks of light. After a few low breaths, I calm from the past 48 hours. Scotia is stock still next to me, and eventually I roll my head to look at her. She's still gazing up at the nighttime covering. "Why are you here?"
I had something to tell you last night, and didn't when I learned about your date.
She exhales. There's more she isn't saying, and I should ask what is so important she drove nearly an hour to see me. But instead, I interject with clarification. "It wasn't a date," I defend, and she twists her neck so she faces me.
"It was drinks, but as Dewey so eloquently explained, it's all just semantics."
I sigh and turn my attention back to the stars, recalling last evening with Hennessy. Fine. She was more than a friend once. She was my first love, but it's old news. When Scotia doesn't respond, I continue. She stopped by the house a few nights ago, just out of the blue, after all these years.
"How many years?"
she asks softly. The weight of her gaze presses on the side of my face, but I don't look at her yet. 21. 21 long years, and she stood at my front door like it was yesterday. I'm quiet again, recalling how she looked last night. Her makeup a little heavier than I remembered. Her eyes hesitant when I asked her about her husband's death. She admitted again she had children, 2 boys, aged 9 and 6.
"What happened?"
Scotia questions. On the one hand, I want to tell her she probably doesn't want to hear my tale. I'm not certain I want to share it with someone like Scotia, who might judge me for my history. But then I consider what she told me about her husband, and how I'm the only one she's ever told. When I met Hennessy, she was 17, and I was 20. I was working in a gas station, and I pumped her gas. She didn't want to get her pretty dress dirty, and I wanted a closer look at her shiny red sports car. Our eyes met, drifted apart, then met again. She smiled at me, and I was a goner. But I knew better. Hennessy Miller was out of my league. I was raised in the system. System? Scotia questions. I was a foster kid, like the boys I now foster, only my life was nothing like theirs. I didn't have nice things like my boys, though. I don't want to go into detail about trailer parks and small apartments, fists and insults, people working the system only for a check. There are bad people in the foster industry. Then again, there are also angels, like Mara Halls. Scotia doesn't respond, so I continue. Later that night, Henny returned to the service station and bought a soda. She lingered in the store. We chatted. I exhaled hard, recalling how Henny flirted with me and how I gave it right back to her. I was everything her silver spoon rebellious spirit needed to piss off her daddy. And she was just everything to me. Everything I longed to have. The woman, the family, the home. I wasn't good enough for her, I state, staring up at the sky but no longer seeing the constellations. The dots of light blur together. That can't be, Scotia whispers, and I close my eyes. She went off to college after we had a summer fling, and I worked my ass off to learn everything about running a gas station. Fast forward 5 years and the owner died, leaving me everything. Frank Sepko didn't have any family. He left me that old service station and a nest of money. Kid, I see something in you, he muttered around a burning cigarette in a haze of smoke. You can ride, but don't you die for anyone else but yourself. He didn't want me mixed up with some of the local motorcycle clubs within the surrounding valleys, and manning his service station kept me out of trouble. You remind me of myself, but I want you to be bigger than all this. He waved his cigarette around the garage attached to the shop, and I held my breath, hoping the ashes didn't hit a gas spill. What an incredible gift, Scotia says, and I finally turned to her. I turned that one station into two, and then acquired a third. By the time Henny graduated and returned to Knoxville, I had a plan for another. I didn't have much to offer her when she went off to college, but I promised her I'd make something of myself. I'll wait for you, she'd promised me in return. Lies. Everything had been a lie. You certainly have, Scotia mutters, and my stomach sours. Is she another woman only interested in status and finances? She was certainly curious about me when she knew me as only Chester Chesterfield. But she knows more about me now than most women ever have. We've discussed my net worth, but the other night, she told me she wasn't interested in my money. The way she said she wasn't interested led me to believe she was telling the truth. Could she want something else from me? Something more meaningful? It wasn't enough, I pause, taking a second to collect my thoughts before speaking again. I'd never had a home, so I built her a house. I wanted to marry her. Instead, she got engaged to someone else and married him. Jeffrey Heiner asked me to marry him. I remember staring at Henny in disbelief. But I want to marry you. I built you a home. We were sitting in the driveway of the house, me in the driver's seat, her in the passenger side. She didn't even ask to see inside the mountainside mansion I'd constructed over the previous year for her. I never asked for this, she replied. You said you'd wait for me, I reminded her. She didn't answer me. What are you doing with me then? I snapped at her, wondering why she was even sitting in my car if she didn't want the house or my heart. She shrugged and then gave me a sheepish grin. She wanted a part of me, which was all too willing to please her. How could she do that to you? Scotia sighs, interrupting my memory with displeasure in her tone. I turned back to her. She wanted his money, his name, and his status. The bitterly spoken words hit the mark, and Scotia flinches. She shifts to peer back at the sky, and I take in her profile. Her midnight hair nearly blends with the night sky, but that white stripe is like a beacon shining out at me. Her eyes glow despite the darkness around us. She chews at her lip.
I guess you have a habit of attracting shallow women.
Do I? Is it that I attract those wanting something from me? Or I'm attracted to them for some sick reason? Am I the one trying to prove I'm good enough for them? I definitely have my concerns that Scotia would eventually walk away from me. I'm keeping her at arm's length because of those doubts. She'll grow bored of various parts of my life, realizing I'm not 3 slivers but one man, a man trying to do right by 3 boys and build them a future. I blame Henny for the triggers inside me, the doubt and the fear that I'll never be enough for someone.
So how did your date go?
Scotia's voice turns edgy, and I don't bother to correct her for the 100th time. I nervously sat at the bar, downing a whiskey before Henny arrived at the Knoxville pub where we agreed to meet. She entered, and I expected my heart to beat right out of my chest. I was so anxious. Why now? This question riddled me over and over again. Why was Henny knocking on my door now? Was it the death of her husband? Was it her 2 fatherless children? Was it her move to a cabin in the woods? Nothing made sense to me. It's so strange that you found me again, Hen, after all this time.
Is it strange? We were always meant to be,
she stated. And that's when I needed another whiskey. She was playing with me, just as she'd done all those years ago. If we were meant to be, we would have been, I stated, not wanting to hurt her, but protecting myself.
We can be again,
she said, her voice lowering as her lids dipped. Once upon a time, a simple smile from her would have brought me to my knees. I would have done her bidding and her pleasuring. Now, I wasn't so eager to kneel. Life is more complicated now, I told her, and she snorted.
You have no idea,
she muttered under her breath, then rapidly finished the drink before her. What I did know was the pattering in my heart was not an attraction to her. Her forehead was too smooth, and her lips were too big. She did look plastic, like Hunter said. Then there was the hesitation in her voice when she told me about her husband's death. She hardly mentioned her children, only stating her oldest was a handful. With Henny's list of woes, I'd wondered if she needed money. She seemed aware of my continued success, but I wasn't offering a handout. I told her I could give her a job, asking if she possessed any skills. With narrowed eyes, she told me she'd never worked a day in her life, relying on her husband for everything. He ran her father's company. She propositioned me. I finally answered Scotia's question, finding the admission strangely similar to how I met Scotia. Was Scotia another woman to prove myself to? Was I worthy of her?
Bless her heart,
Scotia mutters beside me, and I continue to stare at her as she closes her eyes and swallows. Is she jealous again? I turned her down.
You did?
Scotia's voice squeaks as she returns her focus to me. Her quiet question echoes softly around us. Those gray eyes of hers sparkle with their own set of pinpricks, softening at my confession. Henny laid a hand on my forearm, giving me a look that would have worked in another lifetime, but did nothing for me now. When her blue eyes met mine, I realized they weren't the right color. I wanted silver eyes gazing up at me, like the ones sparkling in the dark beside me now. Henny's blonde hair was a little too golden, and I found myself thinking again the coloring was wrong. I preferred midnight ink with a streak of white. That undefined stripe was like an undefined part of the woman looking at me. I've kind of had someone else on my mind lately, I admit.
You have?
She rolls to her side, angling toward me. Her lips slowly curl into a smile while her eyes sparkle. I shift my head from the arm it was on and reach out for her. I'm not interested in Henny or Savannah, I clarify. We still haven't discussed what happened the other night, why she pushed me away when Savannah caught us kissing.
You were embarrassed to be kissing me,
Scotia whispers. Not embarrassed, just shocked by the interruption. We'd been in our own little bubble as Scotia opened up about her late husband, and Savannah's disruption brought me back to where we were, in Mara's office kissing.
You said I was no one to you.
I never said that, darling. Don't put words in my mouth. And for that fact, let's not talk anymore. Come here. Scotia scoots closer to me. I tuck my arm under her, pulling her into my shoulder and pressing a kiss to her forehead, lingering a moment in the quiet of the cold night. Being here like this, under the stars, breathing in the scent of this woman beside me, calms me a bit. I hadn't realized how unnerved I'd been with Henny's return, or how unsettled I was that Scotia thought drinks was something other than just drinks. Somehow telling her about my past with Henny and what happened last night has me rethinking Scotia rushing off. Might she stick? I'm afraid to admit how much I'd like her snuggled into me. If it weren't so cold, I'd be angling to have my hands on her skin. Touching her brings me comfort, like connecting skin to skin assures me she's real. She wants me, and she isn't going anywhere. She's anchoring me when I hadn't realized how adrift I've been. I don't know what it would take to keep a woman like Scotia in my life. I'd already tried to give everything to someone else who rejected all I offered. If Scotia doesn't need my money, and she doesn't want my status, why would she be with a guy like me?